Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Was Saved by Minato and Hinata Part 2. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
The Hokage turned to face the other council members. We will meet again in 3 days to decide whether Momochi Zabuza and his son Haku can join the Leaf, and now that the plot against the Uzumakis has been explained and resolved, the meeting is over. Said, concluding the meeting. Everyone walked out of the room reflecting on what had just happened. In order to learn more about Haku and the Yukina clan from which he was supposed to have originated, Kaharu and Homura made the decision to visit the Hokage's desk first. Shibi Aburame made the decision to remain impartial. Inoichi, Shukaku, and Shuza made their way to a tavern. Hiashi considered their strategy with the other Hyugas. Kuromaru bit the heart that was left in the paper bin, but Sume Inuzuka had to stop him. To avoid upsetting the Uzumakis, the civilian counselors reminded themselves. Reminiscent of the time he tore out a human heart, Arashi went to the bathroom and threw up before washing his hands until they were bleeding. Next day at Konoha's hospital, the majority of last night was spent in conversation between Naruto and Haku. They quickly became friends, as was to be expected, and Haku told the blonde boy about his adventures with Zabuza and his life before losing his family. Naruto told him about his pre-family life, his tricks, and how his father's return altered his course in life. After hearing about Naruto's life, he could find it contradictory, but the Hokage informed him that Naruto was disliked because of what the Kyuubi did, not because he was a Jinchuriki. Haku couldn't help but feel a little jealous of Naruto because he saw how his father loved him while his own father tried to end his life. He truly expected that they could get asylum in Konoha, as this village was more tolerant of those who were different than any place he had ever seen. No matter how much Naruto complained, he would still be under observation for another day before being released, and the worst part for him was having to eat hospital food for breakfast. Before leaving, Haku promised to bring him some ramen. After 10 minutes, he heard a knock on the door. "En Naruto-kun." "Hinata, it's me. See, can I enter electronically?" a voice behind the door asked. "Hinata-chan. You're welcome to enter," Naruto replied cheerfully. Upon entering the room, Hinata was relieved to see Naruto in perfect health, as she had been afraid he would be gravely injured after learning of the attack. After observing her response, the Arashi clone on guard grinned beneath his mask and shut the door, leaving the room empty of them. "This morning, while my father was speaking with Aunt Miho, I heard about the attack. I was concerned about you," he said sadly. "I'm just here because the doctors said I needed some observation, but I'm doing fine, Hinata-chan." "It was nothing," the smiling person said. "I'm so happy to hear that you're okay, Naruto-kun. You fought some ninjas, and I heard they were Chunin L level. How did it occur?" the bashful girl inquired. Naruto's cheerful tone ended when he told the girl about how he finally mastered the Rasengan last day, impressing her even more when she realized that it was the same technique that defeated the Kaden. He then told her about the ninjas he defeated on his own while his father's clone watched the battle. When he finally told her the whole story, she was, as he half expected, furious but, surprisingly for him, on the edge of tears. He stood silent for a few seconds, unsure whether to tell her when he used the Kyuubi's power out of fear of rejection from his friend. "That is unfair. Why are those villagers blind to the reality? You would have destroyed the village years ago if you were the Kyuubi reincarnated. It makes sense that your father is reluctant to return the Hokage hat since you are the one who protects them," she said, nearly in tears. Naruto placed his hands on her shoulders in an attempt to soothe her. Wait, Hinata, they were influenced by Madara Uchiha. If he didn't convince them, they never would have tried that, he said. Madara. He was one of the founders of Konoha, right? He should be dead, right? Perplexedly asked her as she wiped away her tears. His father warned Naruto about the risks of telling Hinata the truth about his return, but since Hinata already knew the truth about the fox and his father's identity, she was entitled to know everything. "What I'm about to tell you, Hinata, is nearly unbelievable, but it's the truth. In actuality, my father did not survive after being sent to the opposite side of the world and losing his memory." Naruto spent the next hour telling Hinata about his father's transfer to a hero's paradise, his resurrection years later, and his encounter with his future self. He also told her about their future teams, the invasion by Orochimaru, Sasuke's defection, the war against Akatsuki, and the fact that Shino and Shikamaru were also from the future. She initially struggled to believe what Naruto told her, but she was sufficiently knowledgeable about her family's craft to discover the truth, and she saw that he truly believed it. She was saddened to learn that they weren't on the same team in that reality, and she was appalled when he revealed that a group of S-class missing nins would pursue him because of the fox. Naruto-kun, was uttered without stuttering and in a serious tone. I'll train harder to become strong enough to assist you in fighting them. With a determined expression in her pearly eyes, she declared, I won't let them get you. Only his father showed the resolve to stand by him, which moved Naruto. Hinata-chan, thank you. They couldn't win if you were on my side, said, giving her a hug. When Naruto embraced her, the determined Hinata vanished and the bashful, stuttering Hinata reappeared. For why you, it's the least I can do. A flushed Hinata exclaimed, why you have kept us all safe. She was shocked that she had maintained her composure. Unbeknownst to them, the Minato clone used a stethoscope he stole from a doctor to listen in on everything they said. Indeed, they are becoming closer and closer. They will soon be strolling through Konoha hand in hand, Kushina exclaimed with joy. I agree, I hope that soon he will start to look at her as a girl, not only a friend, Minato replied. I'll play matchmaker with them when I return, and I'll shoo the girls in his expanding fan club. I'll make sure they end together, she replied. I've returned with the ramen, Naruto. Oh, should I interrupt? A recognizable voice said. Haku was in the window with some takeout ramen bowls when Naruto and Hinata arrived. Haku, why did you get there through the window? Naruto cried as he opened the window. I had to use the window because the nurses here are very strict about outside food. They wouldn't let me in with the ramen. Who is your friend? Pointing to Hinata, the femboy said. This is Haku, and she is my friend Hinata. She is Zabuza's pupil, and if everything works out, they will join the Leaf. The blonde added, they also know the truth about me and my father. Haku smiled and said, it's a pleasure to meet you, Hinata-san. Same for me. Hinata said, startled. By the way, Haku can control and create ice, and she also has a very cool blood limit. My goodness, my favorite flavors were delivered by you, Haku-chan. Thank you, he said as he took the other boy's hands. After Haku told Hinata his story, the Hyuga girl saw how much his life resembled Naruto's. I apologize, but I have to go. As she left the room, the Hyuga girl said, I hope that you'll join Konoha, Haku-chan. Hinata felt like a kunai stabbed her in the heart because she believed she had a chance with Naruto because he was the only girl his age who knew his secrets, but the pressure of the newcomer ruined her illusions. Haku, on the other hand, was really attractive and exuded confidence, and she also shared Naruto's experiences and bloodline. She read enough novels and girl manga to realize that she loved the boy and that her feelings for him were more than a childish crush, and that if she didn't take action, she would lose him to Haku. She made a decision regarding Haku and recalled her pledge to Naruto on the way home. Unaware of Hinata's thoughts, Naruto was in his room savoring his ramen. I wonder why Hinata left so suddenly. She could have stayed here with us, there's enough food for all, said Naruto. I am unsure, Naruto-san. And you called me a she? By the way. Haku grinned and said, obviously you didn't realize it yet, but I'm a boy. What? A boy? However, the startled blonde thought, he's more attractive than Sakura or even Hinata. Naruto would have realized that he now thought Hinata was attractive if he hadn't been so shocked to learn that Haku was a boy. The council room of Konoha, 3 days later. As the counselors arrived, the Hokage, Zabuza, and Arashi waited, and the former Kage recalled the impact of the previous events on Konoha. The idea of Konoha ninjas and some villagers hiring missing ninjas for selling the son of a fellow nin to an enemy village that wanted their blood limit terrified those who believed in the will of fire. Nearly all of the ninja population agreed with the punishment he gave to the ninjas who were involved in the plot. If there was anything that Leaf ninjas hated with fervor, it was treason and traitors. Those who didn't like Naruto remained silent, especially after learning that Arashi had killed the council member who wanted to punish the Uzumakis. The plain villagers were more divided, but they were generally happy that the plot didn't work out. One of the things that shocked them the most was that one of the traitors was an academy teacher. The Hokage and the council will now need to find a replacement. Another was that Naruto killed himself some of the missing nins. The younger generations were shocked that the former dead last of his class had become so strong, and the adults were unsure if he had killed them because of the fox or his training. Sasuke immediately asked Kakashi for more training, and Kiba wanted to shed his title as soon as possible after the parents' visit day. Choji began to pay more attention in class to maintain his distance from Kiba. Although Naruto's new fan club was not as vocal as Sasuke's, they could argue that Naruto was able to survive a situation where it was either life or death. Since Arashi Uzumaki returned, serving as a counselor has become a dangerous position, with a death rate of 1 counselor per session and the possibility of being cursed. Arashi observed how Masashi Haruno, Sakura's father, took the seat of the counselor he killed. The pink-haired man appeared extremely happy because he thought that at last his family was getting the recognition they deserved. If it weren't for Kushina showing him some scenes from Naruto's past, the ex-Kage would have felt sorry for the cursed counselors as they took their seats, which were now separated from the others. The rumors about the curses spread quickly, aided by some demi-clones posing as villagers, and soon the counselors were held accountable for all the bad things that happened to their neighbors. A rat was discovered in a store where one of them had made some purchases just moments before, and the rumor spread among the shopkeepers. As a result, the counselors, their families, and their servants were prohibited from most Konoha stores. He grinned when he recalled how their last days had been. The most amusing aspect was that there was no curse at all. Minato's actions the other day consisted solely of drawing some ugly people in their skins, and he then used his food and clones to make the curse plausible by smashing Sarutobi's pipe and chairs. Naturally, the superstitious villagers accepted the curse, and the counselors were used as a scapegoat for their misdeeds. One of them gave him a crazy look, and before anyone could intervene, he rushed at Arashi brandishing a dagger. The Uzumaki allowed the counselor to stab him by using the palm of his own hand as a shield. Using his injured hand to grasp the dagger, Minato created a Rasengan with his other hand and slammed the blue sphere into the other man's stomach, sending him flying through the window. He dared to attack a fellow council member and wounded him. It was self-defense, the Hokage claimed. No one was willing to talk about that. He could have avoided that attack easily, but Uzumaki let that fool wound him so he would have an excuse to kill his enemy, Hiashi remarked. Is it not possible for us to meet as a council without Uzumaki killing anyone? Homura thought, irritated. Shibi Aburame thought, it appears that I won the wager with Aoba, as Uzumaki killed another counselor. Kushina remarked, it reminds me of when our other Naruto used his first Rasengan against Kabuto. When Arashi saw that the other cursed counselors were kneeling in front of him, he went ahead and bandaged his wound. Uzumaki-sama, please. Take away my curse, I'm sick of it, one of them said, everyone holds me responsible for everything. Another said, everyone glares at me. The other person pleaded, nobody wants to talk to me. I'm not interested. You now understand what it's like to have a seal that ruins your life without your consent. However, in contrast to him, you demonstrated that you deserved your seals, and unlike him, they do not shield everyone from a great evil, Arashi stated icily. No one held him accountable for his lack of mercy because everyone knew he was referring to his son. You're already pleading after 3 days? I had intended to take the seals off after 10 years, but it appears that you would kill yourself before then. All right, I'll take off the seals, but only if you give up your council seats and any authority in Konoha, he said icily. Following the signing of the renouncing documents by all of the cursed counselors, Arashi made a few hand signals, and the seals vanished. They then fled the chambers as if the 9 Biju were pursuing them. The Hokage sat down and ordered the rooms into order. Too much time had been lost with them. Ladies, gentlemen, since we are here, let's move on to the reason. We will make a decision today regarding Momochi Zabuza's eligibility to join Konoha's ranks and obtain the political asylum he requested. To find out if he and his son Haku are suitable to accompany us, I spoke with them briefly. In my opinion, there is nothing wrong with them joining us. Is there a reason why someone disagrees? The Hokage inquired. Known for his impartiality, one of the more senior ninjas rose and made his way to Zabuza and the Hokage. Zabuza-san, Hokage-sama. Why should we accept a ninja who rebelled against his former Kage in his hometown? How can you guarantee that you won't attempt to overthrow us? The former Mist Nin was asked. The Mizukage was an idiot who had no right to govern the Mist. Being a higher-ranking Mist Nin, I learned that he was responsible for the rumors that blamed the war's blood limits, even though they were the most devoted protectors of Water Country's citizens. The Mist's strength was only diminished by using them as a scapegoat. The few survivors are now concealing their abilities out of fear of persecution after many blood limits were lost. If I wanted to maintain the balance of power among the great villages, I had no choice but to rebel against him. People here understand the strategic significance of blood limits, which is why I requested political asylum in Konoha, Zabuza said. The elder said, I understand your point of view, I won't ask any more questions. Minato thought, well, Zabuza managed to show them his point of view. He had the opportunity to expose the Mizukage as Madara's final resource and the one behind the Kyuubi attack, but I'm glad he refrained because doing so would have sparked a conflict with the Mist. Getting everyone's attention, Danzo said, I have a question. Our sources tell us that the Mist graduation exam consists of a series of combats in which the people who kill their classmates pass. You destroyed an entire generation of shinobi by killing every member of the graduating class, earning you the title of Demon of the Mist. Is that accurate? Inquired Isoli. I did, indeed. Why? As you can see, I was not permitted to attend the academy because of my father's issues with certain Mist's council members. According to the rules, the more students you kill, the better your grades will be, and I didn't want to be the dead last. My father trained me himself and sent me to kill as many students from the previous class as I could so they would be forced to accept me as a ninja. Zabuza cross-armedly stated, they changed the rules after that, and no more killings were allowed. Numerous ninjas agreed with Zabuza's logic. Some even pointed out that Zabuza's actions had already saved more Mist students than he had killed. Some civilians considered the consequences of their proposal to bar Naruto from the academy and Arashi's potential response. They were relieved to fail. One more thing. Danzo continued, not giving up. I doubt that Zabuza would be a reliable ninja. He refused to fulfill a contract. Please let the prisoner in to expose my point of view. Mizuki and the remaining civilians from Arashi's massacre were shackled when two Anbu arrived. You too, didn't you hire Zabuza and the other missing nins to kill Arashi Uzumaki and capture Naruto Uzumaki? The disabled man questioned the inmates. Yes, we did, but he brought Arashi to the meeting point and kept the money, Mizuki replied. What are your thoughts on that, Momochi Zabuza? Danzo uttered in an accusatory manner. They told me that Arashi Uzumaki was an A-rank ninja and that I could take him on my own, but they were lying to me about the mission. But during our battle, I found that he was powerful enough to take on all 7 swordmen of the Mist at once. I later learned about the test that gave him a S-class grade. I terminated the contract because they intentionally misrepresented my goal, Zabuza said. The Hokage made his way to the inmates. Why did you mislead him about Arashi's skill level? You couldn't afford to have him killed? Inquired. The civilian prisoner stated, it was the man who wanted their blood limit. He informed us that in order to give the impression that Arashi is stronger, his enemies hold back when you give them orders. He claimed that the rankings are freely assigned by you and the judges, and that the outcomes of tests such as the Chunin exams were predetermined. Mizuki and the civilian, who realized that he shouldn't have called them corrupts, were seized by the elders who served as judges, who were the ones who filled the room with a great desire to kill, but it wasn't Arashi. What are your thoughts on the Chunin exams? A contest for popularity, one of them roared. Another said, the Chunin exams are seen by the feudal lords and potential clients in addition to the judges of the contestant villages. Most of them saw enough exams to decide who is worthy of a promotion and who is not. The clients will believe that the village is unstable and corrupt if the rank of a deserving person is denied to someone who doesn't deserve it. They will also assume that if the village can't decide which ninjas are best suited for a given mission, it can't decide which ninjas are the most appropriate for that mission either. Before Mizuki stood a third judge. Those who assess a person's rank and abilities are never impartial toward their own abilities. No matter how much we like or dislike someone, we are forced to give them a job if we see that they are qualified for it. Despite our suspicions that you killed one of your teammates, my nephew, you Mizuki, you proved yourself worthy of the Chunin rank. Since we were unable to find any evidence against you, we were forced to grant you the rank, he said icily. After his last session with Ibiki, he actually admitted to killing his teammate, the Hokage said. The judge continued to beat the poor Mizuki's ass, and when Arashi asked to deliver the final blow, the judge granted his request. Arashi kicked Mizuki through the window hole when it was his turn. This is because you believe Konoha to be just as corrupt as you are. Arashi yelled at the falling Mizuki. Is he still living? The Hokage inquired. Arashi said, yes, he still moves. The council was where the Hokage went. Well, now that there are no more complaints about Zabuza and Haku joining Konoha, I can give them the political asylum and the citizenship of Konoha. Homura and Kaharu interrupted him. That boy Haku has a little detail. It appears that when he is old enough, he will be given a seat on the council, which is typically only given to people who were born in Konoha or who have strong enough ties to our village. According to your report, the Yukina, his clan, have sufficient bonds to obtain a seat. The elderly woman remarked, it would be good if the entire council received an explanation regarding these bonds so that no one could question his future right to be here. His former teammates are a real pain in the ass, Sarutobi sighed. Of course, I will explain these bonds. That is not necessary. Even though we don't know what he found, we hired an independent historian to conduct a thorough investigation into the Yukina clan in order to ensure his objectivity. Please allow Shizio Amui entry, Homura said to a guard. A very pale man with yellow eyes and black hair entered the room. Everyone thought, he reminds me of Orochimaru. Ku. Honorable Council, it's a pleasure to meet you, the man said. Everyone thought they were sweating when they said, yes, definitively Orochimaru. Do you believe he found out? Kushina inquired, a little worried. Minato replied, I don't know, we'd better hear what he knows. The man said, let me see. The Yukina clan got its name because all of Tama, even the Mina, have the ability to control ice jutsus and resemble the snow ladies of legend. They're the only ninjas who can create ice chakra, and in addition to using ice jutsus, they can also use some amazing space-time techniques with them. Minato concurred. In fact, his family's efforts to imitate those space-time techniques led to the creation of the Hiraishin, which outperformed the original. Everyone's attention was now on Shizio. We'll see. The clan's founder relocated to Water Country and assisted in the establishment of Mist Village, but he did not become a Kage like his cousin, who came from a different lineage. Oh no. He's aware of it, Arashi thought, startled. Lady Miho saw that Arashi was apprehensive. Can you tell us about that cousin, please, replied. Indeed, he was Hashirama Senju, the man who founded Konoha. Take a look at his genealogy. Ku, Shizio said with a smile. Nobody could now argue about Haku's right to be there, and even Zabuza, who was unaware of that detail about his ancestors, was dumbfounded. See. Could you elaborate on their relationship? An elder inquired. Ku. Naturally, after some disagreements about their methods, the Yukina clan peacefully broke away from the Senju clan. The Senju clan itself peacefully broke away from a Whirlpool Country clan that abandoned the ninja way of life. Arashi remarked, I think that we heard enough. No, we want to hear more, please continue and tell us more about that clan. Danzo replied. Yes. That clan rose to become Whirlpool Country's ruling family. Since the red spiral and the leaf symbol with a spiral inside are the symbols of Konoha, their family crest was a white rendition of the red spiral that represents Whirlpool Country. To honor its homeland, the Senju clan adopted the red spiral. Other clans also realized what the pale man was revealing, and the Hyuga's paleness could only mean one thing. What was the name of that sea clan? Kaharu asked, dreading the answer. The man said, of course, Ku, before he noticed Arashi. The clan that originated the Senju and Yukina clans and later ruled the Whirlpool Country was the name the Uzumaki clan. Uzumaki is Japanese for spiral. But wait, don't you have a white spiral, which indicates that you are an Uzumaki? Shizio was asked to go to Arashi. Kushina Uzumaki, the sole surviving member of the Uzumaki clan, was my wife by marriage only. Because she didn't want special treatment, she didn't share her family's history. Our son is the only descendant of the Uzumaki family, she said in a drab tone. He rose and made his way to the other members of the council. I would ask everybody to be discreet about my political family, but that's your decision, stated. Still in disbelief that the Kyuubi brat was a distant acquaintance of the two first Hokages, everyone agreed. A little uneasy, Kushina remarked, I can't imagine their faces when they find out that Naruto is also the son of a Hokage. The same goes for me. Minato remarked, at least this will help to improve his reputation with the village, but now we'll have to be more cautious with Naruto. As everyone left the room after the Hokage declared the session to be over, Arashi turned to face the still shocked Hiashi. I wonder how things will go with the visit that we will make to the Hyugas this night. Hyuga compound the Hyuga leader's daughters were in Hinata's room getting ready for the Uzumaki clan's arrival that evening after sparring and taking a bath together. Hinata recalled her earlier conversation with Haku as she combed her younger sister's hair. Retrograde on her way home, the young heiress discovered the new Konoha member preparing the groceries. The femboy said, Good afternoon, Hinata-san. It's nice to see you again. Good afternoon to you too, Haku-san. Why you look very happy. Does it mean tea that? Murmured Hinata. Yes. Zabuza-sama and I were accepted in Konoha. Zabuza will do some missions supervised by other nin before being instated as a Jonin of Konoha. Meanwhile I will attend the academy in the last year class so I could get accustomed to Konoha's customs and peculiarities. Laughed. Although Hinata was thrilled for Haku, she couldn't help but feel a little let down that another girl who valued Naruto would be remaining in Konoha. You know what it is the most surprising part? It looks like that the founder of my clan was a relative of the first Hokages. They said that it will grant me a seat in the council when I get the required age. Haku continued. Hinata interrupted, Haku-san. The other girl asked, perplexed, what's going on Hinata-san? Look, Haku. You are a very nice person and also a very beautiful girl, more than I could ever be. Also, it looks like you are really skilled and confident of yourself. I think that you also like Naruto. Unlike you, I'm not as beautiful. My hair is short while yours is long and nice, and my eyes are ugly, especially when I use my bloodline, while yours are dazzling. I'm not very good in ninja arts while you were already fighting among with your father in his missions, said the depressed girl. Hinata went on just as Haku was about to tell her that she wasn't as horrible as she made herself out to be. As she reminded Naruto, she said gravely, but I won't back down. I'm willing to fight against you to win Naruto-kun's affection. I won't give up, that's my ninja way. Ju. Don't worry, Hinata-san, I'm not interested in Naruto-kun. You can keep him all for yourself. You know, I'm a boy, replied. AAB boy. Hinata stammered. Yes, it looks like one of the traits of my family is the peculiarity that everyone, including males, have effeminate looks. So you like Naruto-kun, don't you? The Momochi said with a sly grin. When someone realized that Hyuga had feelings for Naruto, she became very upset. In reality, many people were already aware of her feelings, but she was unaware of it. Aye. Don't worry, Hinata-chan, comforted Haku with a smile. I won't tell anybody about your feelings. However, I warn you. I heard some girls your age talking about Naruto. When word spreaded about him able to defeat some dangerous missing nins like the Demon Brothers, his popularity among the female population improved a lot. You'll have a very fierce in order to get his heart. I think that he likes girls with long hair. Perhaps you should let yours grow a little. You'll look lovely, the young man said before departing. Finish the flashback. Hinata completed brushing Hanabi's hair. Her younger sister looked adorable. Indeed, she will heed Haku's counsel and allow her hair to grow longer. The 5-year-old Hyuga questioned, Nei-chan, why are we getting so adorned? Are we going to a restaurant? Hinata blushed a little at the idea of the boy she liked coming to visit her. No, Hanabi-chan. The members of a new clan will come to dinner here and we must look presentable, she said. I doubt Hinata would falter when speaking to her younger sister. Hanabi questioned, who are they, Nei-chan? They are Arashi Uzumaki and Naruto-ku. I mean Naruto Uzumaki. They have spiky blonde hair and blue eyes, replied Hinata. The thought blushed, really wonderful blue eyes. Oh, I know who are them. They are the ones who are fighting on water in those pics you have hidden in your secret spot, replied the youngster. Hinata exclaimed, what, how, do you know that? I found the spot with the pics behind that hanged crown of flowers you brought from the academy while I wanted to prove it. By the way, Nei-chan, why those flowers are still fresh? They didn't spoil yet, replied. I used a jutsu that Ka-san taught me when he was pregnant with you. I made a chakra infusion to the flowers that keeps them fresh, replied Hinata with sadness. Hanabi's mood slightly soured because, in contrast to her sister, she had never met their mother. With a hint of sadness, he said, Nei-chan, do you think she would have loved me? Hinata gave Hanabi a hug. The oldest sister was reassured, of course, Hanabi-chan. She never ceased to talk about you when we were in the garden. It dawned on her then that Hanabi-chan was aware of the pictures. Hanabi-chan, don't tell anybody about the pics. We'll keep this as a secret among sisters, okay? Suggested. All right, Nei-chan, the brat said, delighted to tell her sister a secret. Maybe she should let her know that there were other women in the Hyuga compound who had secret photos of the Uzumakis. The sisters' relationship has greatly improved since the parents' visit day. When the younger learned about Hinata's performance in the competitions and learned that she could now use a potent rank jutsu, any doubts she had about the eldest's ability vanished. Considering that their cousin was regarded as the clan's prodigy, Neji's ability to perform the jutsu was not as shocking. Over the past week, Neji and Hinata have been instructing other clan members in jutsu. Most of them initially decided to ask the genius for lessons, but in the end, they preferred the heiress because she was more understanding of her students' shortcomings and could see where they were struggling with the jutsu. After that, some of the people Neji had declared incapable of performing the jutsu learned it from Hinata. The young girl's reputation in the clan was greatly enhanced by that fact, and the elders now treated her with respect. Neji questioned why a genius like him couldn't teach as well as his cousin and quickly came to the conclusion that it was because he was a genius. He didn't experience the same difficulties as his students when learning jutsu. What was obvious to him was not to the others. Despite her lack of talent, Hinata recognized that her students were having some issues and assisted in fixing them. The idea that the worst pupils could become the best teachers struck him as ironic. With Minato and Naruto, the former Kage and his son made their way to the area of the Hokage's tower where ninjas were paid for their missions. The boy said, "Why you brought me there, Dad? We came here to receive a payment for the missing ninjas we defeated the other day. Because some of the kills were yours, you will receive the percentage of the reward that correspond to them. You must be happy, you will receive your first payment even before graduating in the academy," Hiashi said while combing his hair. As he gave the boy the payment envelope, the attendant, who was among those who viewed Naruto as a hero, congratulated him on his accomplishments. Naruto was taken aback by the amount of money, which was many times his allowance prior to his father's return. After that, they went to the market district to pick up an order from Hiashi at a tailor shop. "Dad, I was wondering where this money came from. Were we paid by the villages of origin of those nins?" Naruto responded. "No, a village only pays rewards for the death of one of its missing nins to ninjas of the village itself. Our payment came from Konoha's espionage division. The body of ninja contains a lot of secrets about his original village and the techniques of the ninja himself. For that reason all villages have hunter nins. Their duty is not only to punish the traitor, but also to protect the secrets of the village. For example, Konoha now knows about the type of poison that the demon brothers used and could develop an antidote. They also could discover how to perform the technique to turn into a puddle," Hiashi replied. Naruto considered what his father had said. Hinata's family uses that seal to protect the secret of their blood limit. Shouldn't them all being marked to protect their secret better? Said Naruto. Hiashi gave a nod. Yes, son. The true purpose of the seal was to protect their blood limit, but some of them saw that as an opportunity to be the rulers of the clan and refused to wear the seal. It turned into the division of the clan into two branches. Hinata dislikes this situation although she is the heiress of the main family and would do anything to unify her family, Hiashi responded. Kushina suggested that Hinata disliked the seal because she didn't want Naruto to think of her as a despot. Hiashi went on. One of my projects as Hokage was to resolve the problem of the Hyuga clan. Your future self also promised that it will be one of the first things he will do as Hokage, Hiashi replied. Naruto was curious and asked, how you plan to do that? Hiashi left his response incomplete, saying, that's a very interesting question. When I was looking in our family scrolls one discovered that. Oh, look, we arrived. They entered what appeared to be an upscale tailor shop. The middle-aged clerk appeared to have been sleep-deprived in recent years. Nervously, she handed Hiashi a pair of boxes and said, "You Uzumaki-sama. Your order is finished. I hope that you won't be disappointed." A few days ago, Hiashi entered the store, handed over a sizable sum of money and a drawing, and threatened to get a kunai in the eye if the clothes weren't finished by the end of the week. The clerk polished his work extensively after learning about what Hiashi had done to the traders and then the counselors. After critically examining the box's contents, Hiashi smiled beneath his mask and gave the clerk another amount of cash. Yes, it's just what I had in mind. Here, take this for the troubles. I know that you had very little time, replied. When he saw the tip, the man with the stars in his eyes said, It's my job, Uzumaki-sama. Before Naruto could examine the contents of the boxes, they departed the store. When Naruto got home, he was taken aback by the clothes his father had purchased. Naruto inquired, is Hinata's family throwing a costume party? No, these are fancy clothes in Western countries. I was supposed to be in those lands during the last years. Appearing with these clothes will reinforce my cover, Minato replied. In a suggestive tone that made her husband blush, Kushina said, and you look really hot with them, Min-kun. When I come back I will order a dress for me, one with those cleavages that show the shoulders. Naruto said, what's going on, Dad? Have you got a fever? It's nothing. Some feedback from my training clones. Talking about clones, I think that the clones we created to teach you some manners finished their job. Dispel them slowly, Minato responded. With a nod, Naruto banished his clones. It was he who blushed when he finished receiving the information. The question was, Dad, I have to do that? Minato said slyly, yes, you have. That's a form of greeting in many Western countries, as Kushina grinned slyly. In the meantime, the Hyuga compound, the Hyuga clan head yelled, Hiashi, and destroyed a training dummy's head. He was the first to master the jutsu named after his brother, as was to be expected. He was taken aback by how the jutsu was developed in 3 steps and how the user could customize it by increasing its power in the second step or its range in the first. When he learned that Hinata was more skilled than his nephew at teaching the jutsu, his pride grew even more. He was extremely proud that his daughter had mastered the art at her age. Furthermore, it appeared that she was now more serious about her training. If his damned Aunt Miho hadn't brought a copy of the autopsies of the nin that the Uzumakis had killed, he should have been overjoyed. One of the people Naruto killed had some injuries that had not been visible since the battle with Iwagakure years prior. It appeared as though his intestines had been in a centrifuge machine. The Rasengan was the only jutsu capable of doing that. Only Jiraiya, Arashi Uzumaki, and possibly Kakashi Hatake were proficient in using that Yondaime creation, but it appeared that the Blonde Academy had learned it from his father. There was a slight commotion in the council after hearing that news, and Hisashi realized that more elders now supported the plan. Damn you, Uzumaki. Why you had to excel? If you appeared as a regular ninja, my clan wouldn't have you and your son in our sight. Now we have to protect our position as Konoha's most powerful clan, the man thought. I hope that the dinner will bring some sense to those power-hungry geezers, wanted. But fate wasn't feeling particularly generous to him this time. Afterwards that evening the Hyuga elders, including Hiashi, Hinata, Hanabi, and Neji, were anticipating their visitors, with Lady Miho serving as the unidentified ringleader. Due to the room's inability to accommodate everyone, it was decided that only the clan's most important members would attend the dinner. Since their blood limit backfired at the sight of the chakra being and their techniques were ineffective against something without tenketsus, the Yondaime chose not to use any Hyugas to stop the fox during the attack. The Uchiha massacre and this fact made the Hyugas one of Konoha's most numerous and potent clans. Hinata was wearing a white kimono with purple flower motifs, which had a red obi and very long sleeves, and she was extremely anxious. She didn't have a specific hairstyle because of her short hair, but she wore one of the crown's flowers in her hair while she was at Hanabi's. Hanabi's hair was loose and adorned with another flower, and she wore clothing similar to that of her sister. The other ladies of the council wore similar dresses to Lady Miho, who wore a purple kimono and a recharged hair dress with 2 enormous needles. Rumor had it that they were poisoned. Neji, Hiashi, and the other men were dressed in sophisticated kimonos in shades of black and gray. Concerned, the heiress thought, I wonder if Naruto-kun will find me beautiful. I hope that the elders won't scare him. The Uzumakis were herded in by a guard. How will they be dressed? The boy probably will have an orange kimono unless his father chose for him a better costume, thought one of the women. When the Uzumakis showed up, everyone gaped at them. Arashi and Naruto were dressed in very classy navy blue suits with shoulder pads and coat tails. They both wore leather boots rather than sandals and wore red cloaks. Arashi bowed and said, Good night, thank you for inviting us for dinner. We brought a little present for you all. Naruto followed suit. Arashi gave the still astonished Hiashi a wrapped package. Hinata blushed as she thought, and Naruto-kun looks really nice with that suit. Following the customary introductions in the following minutes, a question was posed. Lady Miho said, Pardon me, but why are you dressed like that? Oh, these? Inquired Arashi as he touched his suit. This is the style of clothing for important events in many lands of the West. I got used to this style in my absence and I thought that I could introduce some Western customs in Konoha. Then Neji said, What type of customs, Arashi-san? To the astonishment of everyone, Arashi kissed Lady Miho on both cheeks. Naruto followed suit with Hanabi, who blushed slightly, while her sister's eyes widened at the sight. Under his mask, Arashi grinned and remarked, This is the way to greet the ladies in many places of the West. Arg. I had to kiss that old hag. At least I had the mask. Why couldn't I kiss a younger one in first place? Arashi mused. Kushina exclaimed, Because I say so, and giggled, Hey, look, Naruto is approaching Hinata-chan, hee. Hinata thought, flushed, and Naruto-kunai is going to kiss me. With a slight flush of his own, Naruto touched Hinata's shoulder and brought his face close to hers. Ahem. I think that some of those customs could keep in the West. Uzumaki-san, please. The kissing looks nice, but it would be better if we keep the traditional customs of these lands, replied Lady Miho. Naruto questioned, That means that I shouldn't kiss Hinata? The elderly woman said, No, you don't have. The blonde boy turned his face away from Hinata, who was quite disappointed. My kiss. Hinata thought. Kushina yelled, Stupid bitch. You could have waited a little more to say that. The other women in the room swore under their breath at the elderly woman, especially the ones who had copies of the pictures of the lake. I think that it would be better if we head to the dining room, Hiashi replied. Arashi and Naruto took their places after letting their boots into the hallway. Hanabi was positioned on Arashi's side, Hiashi in front of Arashi with Hinata and Miho at his sides, and Naruto in front of Hinata with his father and Neji by his sides. The remaining Hyugas occupied the remaining spots. As they were eating the first course, Hanabi observed the faint glares that Neji was giving the young blonde, while Arashi wore a veil-like mask that allowed him to eat without revealing his face. The innocent question was, Neji-ni-san, why are you looking at Naruto like that? Neji? Why are you looking at me that way? Are you still angry for that incident in the parents' visit day? I already apologized for that, Naruto replied. Neji said, I'm sorry, Naruto. I should have forgotten about that. Hanabi casually inquired, what happened that day, Neji-ni-san? Sai told me that it was understandable because he said that the Neji is effeminate and fights like a ballerina, Naruto said, placing a hand behind his head. I mistook Neji for a girl. With the obvious exception of Neji, most people were laughing uncontrollably in less than a second. The prodigy swore to keep the pale boy's tenketsus out of his mouth. Sai asked Danzo for another mission because he felt that he shouldn't be in the academy for the next few days. After the situation subsided, Hanabi gave Naruto a serious look. With dignity, he said, before you make another mistake, I remark you that I'm a girl. Naruto, somewhat embarrassed by being lectured by a brat, said, yes, I realized that. And Hinata-ne-chan is a girl too. Even thought she has short hair, she is very effeminate. She even started to grow knockers, Hanabi said. Hinata exclaimed, Hanabi-chan, in sheer embarrassment. While Hiashi nearly choked, the majority of people laughed, and Lady Miho believed it was time to have a chat with Hinata. Arashi grinned at the young girl's impoliteness. The unaware Naruto said, what are knockers, Hinata? Can you show me them? Crack. As Kushina was laughing and rolling on the floor of her husband's mindscape, Hiashi nearly choked himself. Lady Miho was degraded, Hanabi, Naruto, and Neji appeared to be oblivious to what had happened, and Hiashi broke the sake cup he was drinking from with his teeth. The poor Hinata looked horribly embarrassed and flushed when she saw Naruto, especially when she was considering accepting his request. Arashi pulled Naruto from the room before anyone could speak. Shortly after, Arashi returned with a very enraged Naruto, who knelt down in front of Hinata. Between bows, the speaker apologized, I'm very sorry Hinata. I didn't know what IW was talking about. Hinata rambled, apologies accepted. I'll be back in a minute, Neji said as she left the room. Everyone went back to eating when they sensed a murderous intent coming from the opposite side of the house. Neji entered the room, glaring at Naruto while holding a dictionary and his Byakugan activated. Before lunging for the blonde, he roared, how do you dare ask that thing to my cousin, I'll kill you. The furious Hyuga pursued the poor blonde until they were running in circles around the diners. This is going to be a long night, and we are still on the appetizer, Hiashi murmured. Was the chapter enjoyable to you? In many European nations, including mine, it is customary to greet people of the opposite sex with cheek kisses, regardless of whether they are acquainted. Women also greet one another in this manner, but men do not. Special report. The origin of Konoha and the Uzumaki family. When I learned that the red spiral worn by Konoha ninjas was the symbol of the Whirlpool country, and that the leaf symbol of the forehead protectors also had a spiral, I got the idea to make Kushina and Naruto distant relatives of the Shoden and Nidaime Hokages. This suggested to me that the Senju clan may have originated in Whirlpool country before settling in Fire country and establishing Konoha. Naruto wears a white spiral on his shoulder, which is unique among Konoha residents. Since clan ninjas wear these spirals on their shoulders, it must be a family symbol. Uzumaki means spiral, or whirlpool, he's not sure. A clan with that name must be very significant in a nation called Whirlpool, especially since white is occasionally associated with royalty. Mini Omake. Deleted scene from chapter 40. Hinata thought, flushed, and Naruto kunai is going to kiss me. With a slight flush of his own, Naruto touched Hinata's shoulder and brought his face close to hers. Ahem. I think that some of those customs could keep in the West. Uzumaki-san, please. The kissing looks nice, but it would be better if we keep the traditional customs of these lands, replied Lady Miho. Naruto questioned, that means that I shouldn't kiss Hinata? The elderly woman said, no, you don't have. The blonde boy turned his face away from Hinata, who was quite disappointed. My kiss. Hinata thought. Then, all of the rage, foul language, and disgusted looks she had endured during her brief life came to a head. A chaotic entity appeared in the girl's mind after something inside her snapped. Inner Hinata came into being. Stupid old hag. I will censored and then censored. Let's show her to not mesh with our love life. All of a sudden, the lights went out, and they heard something fall. With hundreds of kunais embedded in the back of her head, Lady Miho was dead on the ground when the lights came back on. To find the murderer, Hiashi requested an inquiry from the Hokage. Morino Ibiki, the only man who could read other people's facial expressions as well as the Hyugas, was sent by Sarutobi. The Uzumakis and all of the Hyugas were in front of the Tokubetsu Jonin, who would begin his work by eliminating anyone who had no justification for suspicion. Inner Hinata speculated, I would swear that I only used a kunai, where did the others came from? Okay. We will start with the most logical thing, said the man with scars. Anybody present in this room had any reason to kill Lady Miho? No one spoke. The tone was unsettling as it said, be sincere or it will be worse. In order to spare anyone from an unjust interrogation, Hinata chose to assume her guiltiness and raised her hand. She was shocked to see her father raise her hand as well as Naruto, Neji, and Hanabi. Everyone in the room had their hands up, as if they were angry with the elderly woman. Ibiki started to perspire. Sighing, he said, this is going to be a long night. The next course, sushi varieties, was brought by the servants once Neji had finally calmed down. Except for Kushina, who was unable to taste it, everyone thought it was delicious. I hope that they will visit them again as soon as I come back, believed. WOV. This is delicious, it can compete with Ichiraku's ramen. Who made it? Naruto responded. Hanabi was proud of her sister and said, it was done by Hinata Ne-chan, who came to help the cooks because she found out that they were a bit overwhelmed. She is really nice. Because she was still getting used to Naruto's compliments, Hinata blushed a little. Naruto exclaimed, you made it, really? You would be a wonderful wife. While the other Hyugas looked suspiciously at each other, Hinata looked like a tomato, Hiashi choked a little, Neji laughed, and Hanabi realized that her sister liked the blonde boy. The young girl then gave Naruto and Arashi a closer look and noticed that their blue eyes were more attractive than the white ones that all of her family members had. She was also drawn to their blonde hair, which made them look like the sun in addition to being amiable but a little noisy. The boy had adorable facial markings, and she was reminded by the elder's remarks about his performance on the parents' visit day that she shouldn't be surprised that her sister liked Naruto. When Arashi saw that Hanabi was focusing on him and Naruto, he said, what's going, little one? Is there something bothering you? Although Hanabi was a little embarrassed to have been discovered, she quickly came up with an excuse because she was incredibly intelligent for her age. Pointing to the bandages covering Arashi's left hand, he said, excuse me, Uzumaki-san. I was wondering what happened to your hand. Hiashi brought to mind the morning's events in the council chamber, where Arashi allowed a cursed counselor to stab him in the hand before using a Rasengan to kill the counselor. I had a little problem with a fool that now is sleeping in a wooden box. He made me a hole in the hand, Arashi said. Hanabi inquired inquisitively, you have a hole in the hand? Can you show it? With a nod, Arashi took off the bandages. She was disappointed to see that the hand had only 2 tiny scars on either side and no hole. Hiashi and the other elders were aware that the scars would totally go away in a few hours, leaving no trace of the injury. Under his mask, Arashi grinned and said, I'm sorry, but my healing powers closed the hole. However, I think that this is better. It was not a sight suitable for a child like you. Can you stop boasting about your powers? We are going to make a final decision about the plan after you leave, and that exhibition won't help me to stop it, said Hiashi. By the way, Arashi went on, I noticed that you don't have a certain seal on your forehead. That means that you are from the main branch? The young girl inquired, you mean a seal like Neji Ni-san's? When Arashi touched a delicate subject, the counselors ceased eating. Lady Miho said, yes, she is from the main branch. Since the cloud incident, it was decided that those born in the main branch would keep like their now siblings won't be separated from each other by the branch they belong to, proudly stated. Although Hinata detested the seal custom, she was relieved that her sister would not be carrying the accursed object. Neji believed that the decision would not benefit those born in the branch and that it should have been made generations earlier. After giving the woman's words some thought, Minato initially believed that the decision was beneficial for the entire clan, but further investigation would show different opinions. The members of the main and branch families would be 2 distinct families with no ties to one another in a few generations. The main family would not be restrained from using the seal on a member of the branch family without those familial ties, and the gap between the two families would be irreparable. When I become Hokage, I'll do all in my hand to bane that sort of practice. To make somebody bear a seal against his will is not good. Something like that shouldn't happen in Konoha, Naruto said with seriousness. Hinata thought, and I will help you. When Minato heard Naruto's words, he felt an ache in his chest. He forced his son to bear a seal that was worse than the Hyugas and to do so by himself, whereas the branch family members at least had each other. He was extremely proud of him as well. Min-kun. He is not talking about his seal. He feels very proud that you chose him to protect the village, Kushina replied. Minato answered, I know, but I can't help but feel guilty about it. Lady Miho suppressed her thoughts to respond to the boy. Are you talking by your own experience, kid? Well, I won't be in the branch, but it doesn't mean that I won't protect Nei-chan from those who would try to hurt her, Hanabi cried out. In the same frame of mind as Minato, Kushina thought, kawaii, she looks really cute, and held out her arms to Hanabi. As Hanabi grinned and giggled beneath his mask, Arashi surprised himself by pinching his cheeks. Minato thought, what, it looks like you can take control over my body. Kushina smiled mischievously and said, he. I didn't know that I could do that. We should investigate about it when we come back home, but let me take advantage of it a little more. When Hanabi was released, her cheeks were slightly flushed from Kushina's further pinching of them with her husband's hands. Though Hanabi's cheeks wouldn't agree with them, the other Hyugas, apart from Hinata, were a little taken aback to see that someone who was so harsh with those who had wronged him could also be so gentle with young children. One of the oldest Hyugas stepped in and said, by the way, we forgot to check the present from our guesses. I wonder what they brought to us. At the start of the dinner, Hiashi opened the package that Arashi had given him. A large tag with intricate writing was inside. Hiashi recognized it but was unable to determine why. What it is? At first it looks like a work of calligraphy, but I can't understand what it says, said Lady Miho. Arashi remarked nonchalantly, it is an ofuda of health, not a work of art for exhibition. As Hiashi focused his blood limit on the writings and exclaimed, what, Byakugan? Other Hyugas followed suit. After examining the seal's chakra patterns, Hiashi finally understood why Arashi's gifts were so recognizable to other elders. It was an ofuda of health, as Arashi stated. With Tsunade's assistance, the Yondaime Hokage created the ofudas of health, which were regarded as one of the pinnacles in the art of sealing. These ofudas produced an invisible aura that stopped diseases from spreading within a 100-meter radius and slowed the progression of illnesses in those who were already ill, facilitating their recovery. There were only 4 such tags in the entire world, according to official records. One was located in the heart of the hospital in Konoha, another in the capital hospital of Fire Country, a third in the Fire Lord's home, and a fourth in the home of the Hokage. One of the reasons the Hokage is so healthy for his age. Before the Sandaime assigned Minato Namikaze to assist her, Tsunade had the idea for these tags but lacked the sealing skills to make them a reality. After the initial tag was successful, the Hokage allowed Tsunade to depart Konoha. With the designs, Minato made the other tags on his own. He would have made more, but he passed away too soon, leaving Konoha without the only person who possessed the chakra capacity and sealing ability required to make these wonders. As Hiashi bowed, other Hyugas followed suit. Thank you very much, we feel very honored with this gift. We didn't know that the Yondaime made more tags and that they were kept in secret. The Yondaime didn't created that tag, I made it myself last week. Remember that I said that one of my familia's specialties is the art of sealing, Arashi replied. What, you created it? Sorry, I didn't expect it to see somebody able of this skill again. No wonder why your wife chose you when she could have any man she wanted, being royalty and all, replied Lady Miho. Naruto said to his father, what, mom was from royalty? Why you didn't tell me? Shit. Now I'll have to tell him everything about your family. Just what his ego needed. Thank you, old hag, Minato murmured. Don't worry Min-kun, he won't turn into a spoiled brat, he is better than that. And take account that it was going to revealed sooner or later, Kushina replied. When Hinata thought, and Naruto's mom was from royalty. Yes, I told you that she was from an important family, but I didn't clarify how important it was. Arashi stated to Naruto. The former Kage gave Naruto an explanation of the Uzumaki clan's relationship with Konoha, including its aloofness toward the Shodaime, Nidaime, and Haku's clans. No one spoke for a few seconds before Naruto stood up. I can't wait to tell Haku that we are practically cousins, was a joyful exclamation. Why the hell he is not overwhelmed at the knowledge that he is a distant relative of two Hokages? Lady Miho wondered. Hinata dreamily thought, that means that Naruto is practically a prince, especially with his father being the Yondaime. With stars in her eyes, Hanabi questioned, she was a princess? Why she married you? Are you a prince too? Arashi tapped her head in response, saying, no, little one, I'm just the only survivor from a secret ninja clan. Neji questioned, a secret ninja clan? Yes, perhaps I'll better tell you the history of my clan and why we were unknown until now, Arashi replied. The elders thought, perfect, just the reason why we invited them. When Arashi started narrating his clan's history, everyone stopped eating. My clan chose to keep hidden when Konoha was founded. Only the Hokages knew about us. Before the founding of the villages, many ninjas clans were disguised as civilian families. Most members of my clan had a double life as civilians and another one as unregistered ninjas, while others were in the ANBU. We avoided notoriety for two reasons. One was to protect our bloodline. If people didn't know about it, then it wouldn't be treated. Another one was that fame would make our possible enemies research about us and our techniques and eventually find a way to counter them. Anonymity is one of the best allies of a ninjas. In fact, my clan used to change its name with frequency to impede research about us. Usually they took the family name of their couples when they married someone outside the clan. Lady Miho thought, you took your wife's last name in the same way. As you know, before Konoha and the other major villages were founded, ninja clans had their own rules about how to train their members as ninjas. They also had their own examinations for ranks. The exams were different from each other clan, so a ninja skilled enough to be a Chunin in a certain clan perhaps wouldn't be worth of genin for another. For that reason many people thought that the most strict clans were the best, Arashi continued. That's the truth, Arashi added, echoing the Hyuga elders' collective thought. My ancestors created a series of rules and traditions in order to become the archetypal ninjas. Said rules were even worse than the seal thing that you Hyugas do to your own members. Most elders wondered, what's the problem with the seal? At the moment a kid was able to walk, he or she was introduced in the use of weapons, taijutsu, chakra control and ninja skills. At 6, most kids in my clan were already at genin level, the same of a freshly graduated student from the academy. Our members just didn't have a normal childhood. Naruto felt bad because his ancestors could have passed the test when they were younger than him, but he reminded himself that in his father's eyes, he was now a ninja. He rubbed the symbol-free forehead protector his father had given him under his pocket. You could think that it is not so extraordinary. The Uchiha and the Hitaki clans had similar ways to raise their children. But our blood limit let my ancestors access to a new level of severity. Because any wound would be healed in a few hours without sequels, the adults didn't have to hold back when they trained their children. They didn't use dull weapons and they didn't contain their attacks in spars. In fact, they fought their children like they were fighting against an enemy ninja. As long as they didn't kill the kid, the training was not considered excessive. Although he hadn't pushed Hinata to that extent, Hiashi felt a little bad because it made him realize how cruel he could be to his own daughter at times. However, it was nothing in comparison to what he learned next. They believed that ninjas should be the perfect living weapons, that feelings were a birth defect, so they conceived the perfect method to turn us into the soulless killing machines. The kids of our clan were given cute little animals like doggies and bunnies to keep them as pets. When the kids had a bond with their pets, they were ordered to kill them with their bare hands in order to harden them for the shinobi life. When Minato told Naruto about the time he had to kill his beloved pet bunny in accordance with his clan's customs, his son inquired as to whether he would ever have to do the same thing again. Minato hurried to inform him that the custom was no longer permitted. The worst part followed. However, there was a worse method to harden the members of our clan. What it was? Lady Miho inquired. Arashi inhaled deeply, regretting what he was going to say, but he had to tell his son's prospective political family. When the clan heirs had the appropriate age, they had to kill in a ritual combat a direct familiar in order to turn them into the perfect ninjas. If they were able to kill somebody from their own blood, then they were ready to take any orders from the current leader of the village. How could someone like Naruto or his father have come from such a clan? Hinata scowled. At the end, it was the bane of the clan. One of the few good traditions of the clan was that the clan couldn't force its members to marriage against their will. Most members chose to be single so they wouldn't have to force their children to pass through the same as them. Those who had children had to raise their future killers. Parents didn't love their offspring and the children were raised without somebody they felt as family. For that reason there are not more members from our clan. At the end only 2 members of the clan remained, my father and me. My father was different from the rest of the clan. He made an unthinkable crime against the clan. He dared to love his son. Since his father never told him what had happened to his grandfather, Naruto was eager to hear that part. Reminding his father caused Arashi great pain, but it also made him feel incredibly proud. He used to hold back in our spars and never demanded more than I could offer, but never less. He was severe but fair. Sometimes he came to my room to cover myself when he thought that I was asleep, and he gave me occasional prizes after spars. I also noticed that he felt sad for me when I had to kill my pets in order to hard myself. Then came the day when I had to kill him to fulfill the tradition of the clan and become the clan head. I felt like a monster when I headed to the room where I would kill him. When I got there, I found him stabbing himself with a katana. Then he told me that then there was no way that I could become the new clan head, so I was expelled from the clan. With his death the clan was destroyed, and from that moment I was free to create a new clan with better traditions. A clan that would be a real family. With his sacrifice he freed me and my future family from that cursed traditions. Now that he was aware that neither of them had a typical upbringing, Naruto felt more connected to his father and proud of his grandfather. Hanabi was on the edge of tears, as was Hinata. Many of the Hyugas considered what they were doing to the branch members and started to feel bad about it after hearing what the members of Arashi's clan had done to their own family. Kushina was crying in her head because her husband was unable to provide their son with the family he deserved. She was also sorry that she had not been able to meet her father-in-law and express her gratitude to him for everything he had done for Minato. After that, Minato showed her some of his memories from the other world. His reunion with his father made him a hero, and they were able to act like father and son for the first time. Until Arashi told them about his adventures in the Western lands, no one spoke for the remainder of the dinner. The majority of those tales were accurate. The only distinction was that they took place in the other world and omitted the fact that he was accompanied by Tsukumo and Hisashi, the former Hokages. Everyone, especially the younger ones, was curious about the West, the warriors there, and their traditions. At Tsunade's level, Lady Miho said he was exaggerating when he told them about the wizards or priests' healing abilities. They also told me about a custom that I think they shouldn't have abandoned, Arashi said. Lady Miho teased him by asking, "What custom?" Arashi replied, "They used to burn witches." The elderly woman caught everyone's attention. Before she could respond, Hanabi turned to face her dad. "To-san, is Uzumaki-san going to cook Miho ba-chan?" inquired. Kushina was laughing on the ground. The old woman gave the young girl a murderous look, but she calmed down and spoke to her. With a fake smile, he said, "Why do you ask something like that, Hanabi-chan?" "Because when To-san and the elders refer about you, they talk about that damned witch," Hanabi replied. While Neji and Arashi were grinning, Hinata giggled soberly, and Naruto and Kushina laughed their asses off. Only Hiashi, the elders, and Lady Miho, who glared at them while activating her Byakugan, did not laugh. Arashi decided it was time to depart after the remainder of the dinner went off without any problems. The former Kage made his way to Hanabi with the intention of pinching her cheeks once more. An image of Naruto's whisker marks flashed through her childlike mind, and she concluded that Naruto had made those marks because his father had pinched his cheeks excessively. The young girl scolded, "No, I don't want to look like a doggy," and fled the room. Arashi remarked, "What a curious girl," before making his way to Hiashi. He presented the Hyuga leader with a scroll. Before leaving, the speaker said, "I discovered this in my clan's library. It has to do with your clan." When Hiashi realized what the scroll was about, his skin turned the same color as his eyes, and the other Hyugas stared at him in confusion. Naruto, meanwhile, went to Hinata. "I enjoyed the dinner very much, Hinata-chan, especially your food. I hope that someday you will visit us too," laughed. She blushed and said, "I'll look forward to that D-Day." I thought joyfully, Naruto-kun invited me to his home. She was shocked when he kissed her on both cheeks and brought his face close to hers. He put his hand behind his head and blushed slightly as he said, "Oh wait, I forgot that I didn't have to follow that Western custom. He. Sorry, Hinata-chan." "Congratulations, Naruto," Kushina exclaimed. With their visit to the Hyuga compound officially over, Naruto and Arashi departed. Hiashi made the decision to support the plan that evening after reading the contents of the scroll. The poor Hinata was paralyzed for the remainder of the night after Naruto's kisses, and her sister had to pull her to her room. The office of Hiashi at Hyuga compound, the clan head sighed as he finished reading Arashi's scroll for the 53rd time. As he made his way to the door, he thought, "We have no choice but to move forward with the plan for the sake of the Hyuga clan." A branch member who was walking by said, "Tell my daughter that I want to have a meeting with her." Hiashi brought up his conversation with his daughter following the parents' visit day. Flashback. Hinata, I noticed that your Juken moves during your matches were visibly different than the ones I taught you. I'm also very surprised to see that you managed to defeat all your opponents without much problem using them. Can you explain it? Replied. Hinata gave him a tense look because she was afraid of that question after using her new style to compete in the tournament. The girl showed her father the scrolls that Arashi gave her as a gift for mastering the Hizashi after telling him about the test with the chakra papers and how it was discovered that she had a water affinity. Feeling somewhat guilty, Hiashi pushed his daughter hard to become proficient in their family's fighting style, even though it wasn't her fault because using earth jutsus with water is nearly impossible. Naturally, this was not the same as a fighting style developed by earth users, but it did explain why Hinata struggled so much with her training, and he was at fault for not recognizing that, believing his daughter to be a failure and incompetent. He felt worse the more he considered it. He glanced at the scrolls and Hinata. You know, I should take these scrolls to the Hyuga secret library, but they were a gift for you and it will benefit more the clan if you learn from them. Just make sure to keep them safe and keep improving that Juken variation. You made me very proud today and I hope that you'll continue doing it now that we know the proper way to train you, said the man with a small grin. Hinata replied, clearly relieved, Thank you very much, father, I'll do my best. I know you will, Hinata. Now why don't we exchange roles and teach me that jutsu? Finish the flashback. She and Neji instructed members of both families in jutsu during the final days. When he discovered that Hinata was a better teacher than his clever nephew, he was extremely proud. Additionally, he saw that Neji was not as aloof as he had been previously, and that his dislike of the main family had virtually vanished after learning the truth. Damn it, why we have to do that, now that things started to go smoothly in the clan, believed. Hinata entered the room and interrupted his thoughts. The girl said, You wanted to talk to me, father? Her father said, Yes, it is something the clan, please sit down because you'll need it. Hiashi gave her daughter a direct look. I shouldn't tell her, but she deserves to know where are we going to put her, I'll better be direct, believed. Hinata, what do you know about Naruto Uzumaki? Replied. She asked herself, why do you ask, and Naruto-kun? He is a boy about my age, from my same class. He is a bit loud but likable and we thought that he was an orphan until his father came back and he wants to be Hokage. Why do you ask? Hiashi's expression darkened. Hinata, what I'm going to tell you is a S-class secret concerning Naruto, related to something that happened during the week he was born, he replied. Her father was about to tell Hinata about the Kyuubi, and she felt as though her heart had stopped. That could only indicate that he wished for her to avoid Naruto. She was shocked by what Hiashi told her after he explained the sealing, how the Yondaime's final request was disregarded, and how the Hokage created a law to protect him. Hizashi wanted to adopt the boy, but the Hokage didn't want him to be a branch member, so at the end it was decided that he would be an orphan, so he was all his life alone until his father came back. Arashi didn't take very well the treatment his son received and now he is training him to become Hokage, said his dad. He was going to tell her to stay away from Naruto since she couldn't conceal her grief. It seemed to Hiashi that she felt sorry for the boy. Well, Hinata, what do you think about Naruto now that you know the truth about him? He responded. She gave him a very serious look, which surprised him. I think that the village is wrong. There's no way that he could be the demon. Those who think like that are stupid and those who know the difference between him and the fox but still avoid him fearing the Kyuubi are cowards who didn't trust the Hokages. Naruto should be seen as a hero. He has been protecting us from the fox every day, said without struggling. Hiashi was taken aback by her response because he had never seen Hinata so angry, but it was beneficial because it would support the plan. I'm glad to see that you saw the truth too. People tend to hate those who are different. That's one of the reasons why our clan established in Konoha. This village is more tolerant than other places. In fact, Naruto is disliked more for the Kyuubi sealed than for the fact that he is a Jinchuriki. You should know that his father was a special ninja without rank specialized in dangerous missions. When he returned, he decided to become an official ninja and was tested to determine his rank and abilities, stated his dad. Reminiscent of Naruto's father's amazing fights, particularly the one in which he fought with his jacket open, Hinata nodded. As you know, he fought a Hyuga Anbu in his last match. What you don't know is that Anbu was me, stated. Hinata said, but you were with me all the time. Hiashi said, smiling slightly, no, he was Hano posing as myself. You would be surprised if you find out who else is also in that division, but it's a secret. But let's go to the point. During our match he found out a way to turn our absolute defense, the Kaden, against us using a technique from the Yondaime. I ended with half my body buried in the ground at his mercy. After the match, we made some research about the new Uzumaki clan. That night we had a meeting and approved a plan about the Uzumakis, stated. Hinata found the sound unpleasant. Naruto's performance in the parents' visit day and the failed assassination attempt against them raised the support among the elders for the plan. At first I didn't agree with the plan, I still don't, but the info in the scroll Hiashi gave me left me with no choice but to keep on with the plan, Hiashi stated. Hinata questioned, what does that scroll says? At first glance, the scroll that Hiashi gave to Hinata appeared to be a contract between the Hyugas and the Asamiya clan, with the Yondaime acting as a middleman. Then she came to a section that stated that as part of the Hyuga clan's agreement to join Konoha, the Asamiya would create and teach them about a seal in the forehead that would shield their lineage from their adversaries. She realized that perhaps Asamiya was one of their previous clan names when Arashi mentioned that his clan used to change its name for security. It was unbelievable to her. The notorious caged bird seal was made by Naruto's family. Father. That means that Naruto's dad can activate the seal, replied. No he can't, they designed the seal in a way that only those with Hyuga blood would be able to activate it. If it wasn't the case, our clan wouldn't have joined a village full of Uchihas who could have copied the hand sign easily and have us at their mercy, said Hiashi, but it doesn't change the fact that they know one of our greatest secrets. Because these and many other reasons we must proceed with the plan if we want to keep our clan as the strongest in Konoha. And you will be a vital piece for that. Hinata thought, oh my god, they're planning to destroy Naruto and his father, with horror. His father continued before she could object. Hinata, you must seduce Naruto Uzumaki, replied. Nanny. She rambled. Hiashi sighed and cast a guilty glance at his daughter. He must now explain to Hinata why she must forego her happiness in order to protect the clan. We Hyugas are now the most powerful Konoha, but the presence of the new clan can endanger it. Because we wouldn't do something as stupid as trying to destroy them, we have decided that we will make them part of our clan by marriage. Hinata, I know that this can sound unbelievable, so I'll explain the reasons because we decided to do this, Hiashi said. Still in disbelief, the heiress nodded. She was afraid her family would oppose any relationship she could have with Naruto after she discovered that he was the container of the Kyuubi. But rather than that, they wanted her to go after him. The poor Hinata believed they had discovered the hidden place in her room when Hiashi gave her one of the notorious pictures of Arashi and Naruto training shirtless. Father. That pic. It looks like somebody has been distributing images of them training. Please, take a closer look at their bodies, Hiashi said. Part of Hinata was relieved that they hadn't found her pictures, part of her wondered why her father wanted to view them, and a part of her relished the moment when she realized she didn't have a copy of that picture. Hiashi ignored her thoughts and carried on speaking. As you can see, they don't have any scars in their bodies. In the boy this is understable, but in a veteran ninja like Arashi this is clearly impossible. Unless his blood limit healed him perfectly. Take also a look in this, he said as he gave her the mission report. This is the report of a rescue mission that he made when the Yondaime was still alive. He saved Shuza Akamichi, Inoichi Yamanaka and Shikaku Nara from an enemy base. The report says very clearly that he lost an eye in the mission. When he fought those three they thought that he was one-eyed and attacked him from what they thought it was his blind spot, but as you saw, he has two eyes completely functional. Hinata, what is the biggest fear for Hyuga and for anyone with an eye-based blood limit? Inquired. He wanted to say something that Hinata understood. The biggest fear for us is to have our eyes damaged or useless, but the Uzumakis don't have to worry about that, she replied. Exact. As Naruto explained, physical blood limits like his and eye blood limits like ours are compatible. Your children would have perfect Byakugan eyes that would heal completely if damaged. They would have the greatest potential ever seen. Hiashi responded. The idea of having a family with Naruto made Hinata blush a little, but she didn't like that the clan considered them both to be potential offspring. His blood limit was the main reason, but we have more. As you noticed, the Uzumaki clan has some impressive and very powerful techniques, like the technique to fly, the food and clones and of course their mastery and knowledge in sealing, but I think that Arashi has some other powerful techniques that he didn't show yet. If the Uzumaki clan becomes part of the Hyuga, all the techniques and secrets eventually will pass to the future Hyugas, stated. Next, Hiashi gave her a picture of a woman with long red hair. Hinata recognized her from Naruto's description of his mother, and she thought that he wasn't exaggerating when he said that she was beautiful, especially given her long hair. She questioned whether she could purchase a beauty product to hasten the growth of her hair. We knew that she was the last survivor of the rulers of Whirlpool Country, practically a princess. Later it was found that her family was related to the Senju clan, the founders of Konoha. I don't need to tell you that it makes Naruto almost from royal blood, stated him. Hinata asked, "See, can I keep the photo?" Her father nodded before revealing his motivations. Finally, the witch found out that they are really rich, but it is not as important as the former reasons, laughed. The elderly woman was still offended by Hanabi's comment, and his daughter laughed when Lady Miho was brought up. Until she calmed down, everyone stayed away from her. Then Hiashi gave her a very serious look. "Hinata, I would prefer to not force you into this plan. If you refuse, I'll tell the Hokage. There's a law that lets him intervene in clan affairs as long as the clan head agrees with him. It was created to prevent revolts within clans. I know that I was not the best father of the world and didn't treat you as good as you deserved. For that reasons I don't have any rights to ask you something like this, but if you agree with the plan, the benefits of your sacrifice will be the best thing that happened to the clan since its creation," stated him. Hinata was moved by her father's willingness to put her happiness ahead of the elders and put her in front of the clan. She wanted to leap into his arms and tell him that everything was fine, that she already loved Naruto, and that one of her greatest dreams was to end up with him. She chose to keep her feelings for Naruto to herself, though, because she believed that her family would respect her more if they believed that she was giving up something for them. Said, "I'll do it too, San." "What?" he exclaimed, startled. "I'll do it. I will seduce Naruto-kun. As the heiress of the clan, it is my duty to do sacrifices for our family. And Naruto. He is a great person. He works very hard and never gives up. I think EW would be a great husband and father," said with a little blush. Perhaps Hiashi would have discovered that Hinata liked the boy if he hadn't been so concerned about her, but he didn't. The fact that Hinata's mother had to yell her love for Hiashi in front of him. Minato didn't discover that Kushina was a girl until a year after they first met, and Naruto believed that Hinata was prone to illness were some of the few similarities between the Uzumaki and Hyuga clans. With a mix of pride and sorrow, the Hyuga leader gazed at his daughter. He touched her shoulders with his hands. Hinata blushed at his remark, but he smiled and said, "Thank you very much, my daughter. I'll never ask you a sacrifice like this again. Who knows, perhaps you could be happy and all." Then he gave her a more serious look. "We shouldn't sell the bear's skin before catching him. I think that you won't be the only one after Naruto, and you will have competence from other girls. The secret about Kushina Uzumaki being from royalty won't keep as that for too long. The council is full of gossipers. People is starting to look at Naruto beyond the Kyuubi, especially with his progress in the academy and the other reasons I told you. He will be one of the most tempting bachelors in a few years. I bet that girls will start to flirt with him soon," Hiashi said. Hinata went pale because she was so damned shy that it would be nearly impossible to get Naruto's attention if she had other girls vying for the boy she liked. However, I think that Arashi probably would have warned Naruto about those girls interested in him, so you'll better take a better path to get him," Hinahi replied. Hinata focused entirely on her father. "It will be better if you manage to be his friend instead of acting like a stupid fangirl so he won't find out about our intentions. It will also help you to get used to him. You are very shy. For example, you could offer him your help in his training with spars and the like, so he will see that you are interested in being a strong kunoichi. At the time both of you graduate and start your ninja careers, you will start with the seduction itself. You should be subtle with that, for example inviting him to lunch as friends after a spar, or better, making yourself the lunch. Before he notices it, he will fall for you," Hiashi recalled what Lady Miho had said. Knowing that she wasn't required to begin flirting with Naruto right away because she wasn't yet ready for that phase gave Hinata a sense of relief. She assured herself that since she already loved Naruto, there was nothing wrong with the plan. "I understand too, San. I'll do my best to be Naruto's friend by the moment," replied. "Very well, and thank you again, Hinata. You made me very proud. You can leave," Hiashi replied. Reflecting on the conversation with her father, Hinata walked out of the room. He was unaware that she had taken a picture of Naruto with her. Konoha's streets, early after Zabuza joined the Leaf, Arashi received a message from the village leader, the Hokage, asking him to come to his office the following day to discuss an idea he had. The majority of the villagers were obviously more respectful than before, and two of them even nearly bowed to him as he made his way to the Hokage's tower. "As I thought, word has spread about your true heritage, my love. It makes me sick how they give that importance to these things instead of the true merits," said Minato. "Yes. That's the reason because I kept it secret. I just wanted to be treated like another person when I arrived Konoha. But look at it in the good side, Naruto will find this treatment much better than the former, and when he becomes Hokage this will be natural. Kushina replied. He thought, some of them seemed really regretful. When it was revealed that the revived Yondaime was the father of the Kyuubi container and the new Toad Sage, Kushina remarked, well, they just realized what they did to one of the few relatives left of the first Hokages. I can't wait to see again their faces when they discover that Naruto is the Yondaime's son. People would kneel at Naruto and beg for his forgiveness, making it impossible for him to move. He was already considered a hero when I revived. I wonder if Naruto in this timeline will manage to do that before I reveal my true identity, said Minato. She said, don't worry about that, he'll do it. He entered the office of the Hokage. He found the elderly man waiting for him. Arashi said, good day, Sandaime-sama. With a gesture toward his own chair, the Hokage replied, good day, Yondaime-sama, take a seat. Don't call me that. I don't care how much you insist, I won't take back that job. Talking about jobs, what do they think about my offer? Minato responded. I had to try it, said the Sandaime. I had a talk with each of them about your idea of forming a special squad for dangerous missions, with you as the leader. He showed him the file of Kakashi. Kakashi agreed immediately. He is not very good expressing his feelings, but after you came back I never saw him so cheerful. He spends less time in the Memorial Stone, and now that he is taking care of Sasuke and training him, he seems like he got rid of a great burden. Do you know why, Minato? Inquired. The blonde gave a nod. When I came back I told him about my stay in the other world, specifically about his father. Kakashi almost cried when I told him how proud Tsukumo was for him when he heard about his son's feats in the world of living, especially when Tsukumo found out that Kakashi began to value his teammates more than the rules. Perhaps I should tell him too about his love life in the future, said with a grin. A file mentioning Zabuza was taken by the Hokage. He asked if Guy was going to be in the group. When I said no, he agreed immediately, stated. Minato thought, that's interesting. I saw both of them training Iruka together. The file pertaining to Captain Yamato came next. He can't wait to have missions with you, as you know he has the same bloodline as the Shodem Hokage. He wants to learn about him from you and he feels very honored for being in the same group as you, said the Sandaime. I almost forgot that he is one of the few who knows about my true identity and the truth about my return. Are we going to have a Hyuga with us as I requested? Replied Minato. Yes, he will be the same one who fought you in that test, Bear. Hiashi trained him personally and I guarantee you that he is one of the strongest shinobis of the village. However, he doesn't want to reveal his true identity. I suppose that it won't be a problem for you, won't it? Replied Sarutobi. No, there's no problem about that. In fact, it will give me an excuse to keep my own mask, said Minato. The Hokage examined the various documents. Kakashi, Zabuza, Yamato, Bear and Arashi. You are trying to make a new version of your team in the other world, don't you, Minato? Stated. The Yondaime gave a nod. Yes, Kakashi is like a younger version of Tsukumo. They think the same way and have similar tactics. Zabuza, like the Nidaime, is a swordman and a powerful water user, not at Tobirama's level, of course, but powerful. Yamato will the Shodem's version for the team, according to the files and my own experience with Hashirama. Tenzo is not as powerful as him, but his powers will be invaluable for us. Finally, with Bear, we will have all the advantages of the Byakugan and the Jukin, stated. And in top of that they will have the mysterious Black Angel of Konoha leading them. They have a great potential. Are you going to give them some previous training before your first mission? Replied the Sandaime. Minato gave a nod. Of course, at the moment we are just some high-level ninjas. When I finish with them they will be able to face Akatsuki members in 1-versus-1 fights. The training will be hard. In fact, was tempted to ask for Guy's help. Laughed. Shivers ran down the spines of said men in other parts of Konoha. In the academy in the means, since they weren't classified as high secret, and gossiping was one of Fire Country's favorite pastimes, the announcements about Naruto's mother's heritage and his victory over missing ninjas were made public in the academy during these final days. When Naruto entered the classroom, everyone fell silent. They were unsure of how to respond to him at this point. Sashino, Shikamaru, and Hinata broke the ice by praising his talent. Before long, the blonde boy was surrounded by classmates who wanted to know everything there was to know about the battle. He was fortunate that Shikamaru and Shino had prepared a cover story that excluded the Kyuubi, and Naruto only needed to nod most of the time. Before a bandaged Iruka brought order to the students, he was disturbed. Naruto was uncomfortable in class because he thought someone was watching him from the moment he arrived. There was no animosity in these stares, unlike the ones he had to face before his father returned. Naruto's fangirls were no longer hiding their condition, and he soon discovered that he was now the center of attention for roughly 1/3 of the class's female students. After glancing at Naruto, Sasuke understood that he would need to be stronger than Naruto in order to defeat Itachi. Defeating the fool would be a first step toward exacting revenge on his clan. When he saw that the blonde now had fangirls, he grinned. Poor Naruto, you don't know what awaits you. Soon you'll know the curse that is having fangirls surrounding you. Believed. Hinata was not pleased with Naruto's newfound popularity among the other girls. In contrast to her, they were pursuing Naruto because of his ancestry, bloodline, and other personal information that they didn't like about him on his own months ago. Though she didn't have much of a choice, she didn't like that her family thought she was pursuing Naruto for the same reasons. As their heiress, she had to stop her father from confronting the elders if she had not followed the plan. This would have caused chaos in the clan. With his disposition, she hoped Naruto would improve the Hyuga clan. After giving it some thought, she saw that Naruto's chances of joining the Hyuga clan were slim. She was aware that, in contrast to her family, his father was the Yondaime Hokage and that he would not allow his only heir or his secrets to be revealed to another clan. She had a sister who could succeed her as leader of the Hyuga clan in the future, unlike Naruto. Neji was also present. Blood tests would reveal that Neji and her were siblings with the same father but different mothers, confirming his connection to the Hyuga founders. Her and their fathers were twin brothers. He deserved to be the heir, not her, because he was older than her and is regarded as the most gifted Hyuga in generations. She had to become Naruto's girlfriend first, and the other girls were in her way, so she was speculating too much. She made an effort to speak with him when he was by himself during break, but there were always some girls around. She was depressed when she went home from class because she had no opportunity to speak with him. Hinata would have accepted her fate in a different reality, but in this one, she vowed to be strong and stick by Naruto through the impending hardships. On her head, something clicked. An inner voice cried out, "How that interested sluts dared to flirt with my Naruto-kun." No, Hinata has never been jealous before. That is simply a feature of her personality. It is not an inner Hinata. With renewed vigor, Hinata headed home after promising herself that she would put those arpies in their proper place. Skip in time, don't you think it was about time? That day was 2 months ago, and during that time, the village saw some changes. Arashi believed his new elite team was prepared for their first mission, which was to kill a crime lord surrounded by a class of missing nins, after 2 weeks of inhumane training. Others of a similar caliber arrived after that initial mission. The team members were nearly unscratched, and all of them were completed in record time. After fighting alongside Yamato and Zabuza on a daily basis for over 10 years, Minato taught them some powerful Mokuton and Suiden jutsus. It was not surprising that he was able to memorize the hand seals of most of his predecessors' jutsus. Together with his vast collection of jutsus, Kakashi's father taught him some tricks that made him more deadly than ever. They also began research to raise Kakashi's Sharingan to the level of Mangenkyu. Following Arashi's explanations, Hiashi picked up some of the methods that Hisashi created in the other world. He was informed that Hisashi had created them during his lifetime. The most remarkable was an enhanced Kaden that enabled him to move forward as a peg top, destroying any barriers and transforming their last line of defense into a potent assault. As one of the most formidable squads from Konoha, the new masked ninjas gained notoriety within the ninja community. Naruto initially objected to his father having to leave, but he eventually came to terms with it as a necessary aspect of being a ninja. Because Minato disliked the thought of leaving Naruto alone during his abstentions, he placed him in the care of Ebisu, who was aware of Arashi Uzumaki's true identity. The Tokubetsu Jonin ended up caring for 3 children with the biggest egos in Konoha after Kakashi did the same for Sasuke. To establish a friendship with the Uchiha, Naruto took advantage of the circumstance and invited Sasuke to train with him. Before they realized it, a small friendship had developed between them as Sasuke accepted in order to get stronger. It was difficult for Konohamaru to choose between Naruto and Sasuke. The youthful Sarutobi made the decision to outdo them both. He learned his signature Kaden Jutsu from Sasuke and the sexy no Jutsu from Naruto, but he was unable to execute them correctly and realized he needed to give his Ebisu training more serious attention. Speaking of training, Arashi taught Sasuke the secret Uchiha technique he had learned in the other world, which is the secret of the Kaden Bunshin no Jutsu, while Naruto began learning from Kakashi how to recognize and counter genjutsu. Because he didn't want to make the same mistake he did during the attack, Naruto asked his father to concentrate more on his training in the art of sealing. The Cage Bunshin allowed him to learn at breakneck speed, and he created a new combat seal that was so unique, powerful, and simple that even his own father was impressed. Naruto's friends began to take their ninja training seriously after he improved. As high Chunins trapped in their younger bodies, Shikamaru and Shino concentrated on their physical training because they couldn't benefit from their experience and abilities without a strong body. After the parents' visit day, Kiba became the last person to die. His pride was severely damaged, so he worked very hard to get out of that position, which he did with his mother's assistance. Choji followed Kiba's lead and made an effort to avoid being the last person to die because he didn't want to be the only person in his friendship group to fail. After learning that Sasuke could practice polygamy, Ino and Sakura were able to re-establish their friendship. After Shino spread the rumor that the Uchiha liked strong girls, they began training together to become powerful kunoichis. Sai continued to update Danzo on Naruto. The spy was beginning to feel bad about spying on the Uzumaki child, but he hoped that this mission would be lengthy and that he would never confess it to his superior. After years of conditioning en route, the pale artist was regaining the emotions he had lost. He wasn't sure which option he would choose when he had to choose between Danzo and Naruto one day. With positive outcomes, Hinata continued to improvise her new water Juken style. When Naruto sought her assistance while being pursued by his insane fangirls, she also strengthened their friendship. Naruto only needed to use a few palm attacks and glares while her Byakugan was in use to want to be close to Hinata in the academy. When Haku and Naruto learned they were distant relatives, their friendship significantly improved, and they soon referred to one another as cousins. Despite being competent enough to take the Chunin exam, Zabuza's son enrolled in the academy's final year class. In the beginning, everyone assumed he was a girl. He made friends with Lee, who asked him out, and Tenten, who initially believed that there was finally another talented kunoichi. Following that incident, he decided to change his appearance by wearing more masculine clothing and putting his hair in a ponytail, revealing to the entire class that he was a boy. Tenten discovered that he could match her aim, and they quickly developed a cordial rivalry. Neji became friends with Lee, Haku, and Tenten, to her delight, and opened up more to his classmates. The young prodigy was more outgoing after his private conversation with Arashi Uzumaki. When he could, Lee challenged Neji and Naruto while continuing his training with his new father. In every battle where Guy's clone chose not to use the drunken fist, the other boys prevailed. Because he didn't want to become dependent on that resource, he didn't use it in every battle. When he did use a drop of sake, Naruto and Neji were afraid for their lives. Arashi once entered Naruto's class. The boy made his way to his dad. Naruto said, "What's going on, Dad? Something happened?" "Nothing bad happened, son. You won't have academy for some days, we are going to have training trip and we must go home to pack our thing," Arashi said with a grin. Naruto exclaimed, "A training trip? Where?" with excitement. Arashi gave Shikamaru and Shino a quick glance before answering Naruto, so fast that only they saw it. "The Hokage chose me as one of his escorts for his visit to the finals of the Chunin exams. We are going to Suna." The future of another timeline, a flashback. With the Sand Nins standing in for their younger brother, the Kazekage, Temari and Kankuro met with Tsunade and Shikamaru in the recreated Hokage's office to decide how to handle the remaining Akatsuki forces. They were anticipating the arrival of two individuals. One was Minato Uzumaki Namikaze, the fabled yellow flash of Konoha and the revived Yondaime Hokage. The other was the Yondaime Hokage's son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, the new Toad Sage, and Tsunade's designated successor, the future Rokudame Hokage. Meeting one of the most renowned ninjas in history made Kankuro and Temari a little anxious. He became even more legendary because, after dying in battle against the Kyuubi, he was now walking among the living. When he and Naruto went to Suna, they weren't with Gaara. Ironically, both Sand and Leaf's Jinchurikis were offspring of the Yondaime Kages of their respective villages and would go on to become fellow Kages. Gaara informed them that the Yondaime Kazekage and Naruto's father were completely different, with the only similarities being their titles and the desire to transform their offspring into Jinchurikis. When Minato learned more about how the village respected his final request, he became enraged and vandalized the Hokage monument, so Tsunade, who was already preoccupied with paperwork, had to add it to her list of repair tasks. Temari's battle fan's metallic section was shining. As a wind mistress, she was intrigued and envious when she learned that Naruto had developed what was thought to be the strongest wind jutsu ever and that his father had gained the ability to control wind, allowing him to soar. Maybe they could demonstrate their abilities to her. In addition, she saw that Pineapple Head had grown up. When did he become so attractive? during the dinner at his house, she would have the opportunity to ask him about his life during the past few months. When Shikamaru saw that Temari was surreptitiously observing him, she crossed her legs so he could see her thighs clearly. Troublesome women, the Nara muttered, blushing slightly. It wouldn't have been so horrible if Temari and Kankuro hadn't run into his mother while he was giving them a tour of the village's reconstruction efforts. Temari and her mother got along so well that they soon found themselves gossiping like old friends, with his mother disclosing embarrassing information about him, much to the young genius annoyance. His mother invited the Suna siblings to dinner at home after he told the humiliating tale of how he wet the sheets until he was 8 years old. If she tries to show them my baby photos, I'll become a missing nin, believed. In an attempt to start a conversation, Kankuro asked Hokage-sama, who was sent to bring them here. I send Shino. I ordered him to place a female bug on Minato in order to keep track on him, said Tsunade. Kankuro reminded him that they still needed to rematch his fight with the bug boy during the invasion. 2 people entered the room as the door opened. The Yondaime Hokage and Aburame Shino were the 2. Godem-sama, I found and escorted Yondaime-sama here as you requested. I found him when he headed to a jewelry shop. Naruto is now in the hospital. He is unable to come here at the moment, said Aburame. Tsunade turned to face his opponent. Tsunade, who was clearly irritated, asked, why is Naruto in the hospital? And why were you going to a jewelry shop? Shikamaru thought, she is still upset with him because of his little stunt in the monument. Minato showed Tsunade the Shodem's necklace, which she had lost in a wager with Naruto. Naruto is in the hospital because a slight case of chakra exhaustion. He overdid in our training and broke the cord of the necklace by accident. I told him to rest a little, but he is as stubborn as his mother and keep with the jutsu until he managed to do it. He did it. He mastered the Hiraishin. Proudly stated. Startled, Shikamaru stood up. Wait a moment. The Hiraishin too. If he adds with the techniques that you taught him these months and the sage mode, that means that he has surpassed me, was Minato's final statement, following Shikamaru's. For a moment, everyone stood in silence, realizing that the strongest ninja in history was most likely someone younger than them. The Yondaime radiated a pride that was nearly palpable. Tsunade grinned and said she would teach Naruto the remaining lessons about being Hokage as soon as he left the hospital. She might be able to retire before the month is out. How is he? Kankuro inquired. He is fine, his girlfriend, Hinata, is taking care of him in the hospital. I never saw a Hyuga so kind in my life. Kakashi is getting used to his new eye and soon he will be able to come back to active duty. And you are? Kankuro responded. I am Sabaku no Kankuro, Jonin of Sunagakure and the Kazekage's brother, replied courteously. Ah, yes, Shino told me about you. You are the one who didn't want to fight him in the Chunin exams and was later defeated by him during the invasion, Minato responded. What, you didn't defeated me? It was a draw, and the reason why I refused to fight you was because I didn't want to show my abilities, said the Aburame. Okay. I'll consider our match in the forest as a draw and your refusal to fight as a victory, Shino replied. Temari's fan slapped Kankuro before he could respond. Kankuro, stop embarrassing Suna in front of the Hokages, his sister yelled. Temari gave Minato a bow. Please, forgive my brother's rude behavior, Yondaime-sama. Let me introduce myself, I'm Sabaku no Temari. Jonin of Sunagakure and the Kazekage's older sister, replied. You must be Shikamaru's girlfriend, don't you? Naruto told me about you and Shikamaru. You made a very lovely couple, said Minato with a smile. Minato's comment caused Temari and Shikamaru to flush. Temari attempted to say, wait, we are not a. Really? Perhaps a marriage agreement would strengthen the bonds between our villages, laughed Tsunade. Shikamaru blushed even more as she thought, troublesome blondes. Boy, I'm sorry for you when Gaara finds out about this. Do you know that he has developed a jutsu named Desert Underpants, just to deal with Temari's suitors? Joked Kankuro. I think it will be better if we talk about that later, we have some things to discuss, Minato replied. Kankuro pointed to Minato's black attire and remarked, Yondaime-sama is right. By the way, why are you dressed like that? You don't look like as in the textbooks. I got tired of being unable to walk across street without being stopped by a villager apologizing to me. This are the clothings that I wore in my Arashi Kazama identity. With the mask and the hood they don't recognize me, replied as he put them on. Boom! Everyone became alert when one of the walls exploded. A single figure was in front of them. In his left eye, a stolen Sharingan. Madara was prepared for a decisive conflict. Finish the flashback now. Suna cursing her luck once more, Temari got up and went to the kitchen to make breakfast. She was Suna's most revered Jonin months ago, the sister of the adored Kazekage, and the girl with the most suitors in Suna. Though they were short-lived due to the adored Kazekage. Madara had to come and mesh things, though. She was the least popular girl in Suna, the sister of Gaara the monster, and another recent academy graduate. It wasn't so bad, though. She now had the opportunity to make her past and future better. Suna's life would be better if she could stop the failed Konoha invasion. But when her father introduced her and her siblings to the plan 2 years later, she would have to persuade him that it was a suicide plot. How she could stop the war without turning traitor is still a mystery to her. The fact that Kankuro returned with her was an additional plus. Until Kankuro played a practical joke on Temari, neither of them realized that the other was also a time traveler. Flashback, yet again, after a training session, Temari and Kankuro were making their way home when the painted boy greeted someone behind Temari. Well, the genius Nara came to visit us, stated. Temari turned back and said, Shikamaru, with a hopeful expression. The puppeteer joked, Gotcha. I knew that you came back to Ne-chan. You should have seen your face when you turned back, before his irate sister beat him up. Temari was in a terrible mood for 3 days, and the poor Kankuro was in the hospital for 2 days. Even Gaara didn't think it was a good idea to go see her. Finish the flashback that brought to mind their younger brother's issue. The worst aspect of their return was that Gaara was once more the bloodlust killer that tormented their nightmares. They believed that after Naruto instilled some common sense in their brother, the times when they feared for their lives were over. They made an attempt to be friendly with him in the hopes of re-establishing their relationship in the future, but they were completely unsuccessful. After Yashimaru attempted to kill him, Gaara shut his heart shut. He believed that they were attempting to deceive him when they came close to murdering him, just like Yashimaru did. With the exception of the fact that they were no longer afraid of Gaara, all they could do was show him respect. And lastly, there was another issue. The Yondaime Kazekage, their father. They weren't emotionless when they saw him again. They were never given fatherly treatment by the Kazekage. In order to make them worthy of being referred to as his children, he neglected them during their early years and gave their education to the village's best ninjas. It was the Kazekage who decided to transform their infant brother into a Jinchuriki in order to obtain a formidable weapon. Furthermore, he decided to use their mother as the sacrifice required for the sealing, depriving them of the only person who truly cared for them. Outside of his training, Kankuro wore face paint in part to avoid seeing his father's face whenever he looked in the mirror, though he never disclosed this. Temari went to meet Baki for her daily training after finishing her breakfast. She saw a group of girls giggling nervously as they looked at some pictures that a Konoha merchant was selling on her way to the training grounds. When one of them brought up the name of Uzumaki, she was about to ignore them. As she made her way to the merchant, she asked herself, Uzumaki? Finding a suitable location to conceal her new Arashi Uzumaki's Pix collection, limited edition, and figuring out how to contact her Konoha allies took up the remainder of Temari's evening. Naruto exclaimed, a training trip, where, with excitement. Arashi gave Shikamaru and Shino a quick glance before answering Naruto, so fast that only they saw it. The Hokage chose me as one of his escorts for his visit to the finals of the Chunin exams. We are going to Suna. Naruto exclaimed with excitement, we are going to see the Chunin exams? Great, what are you going to teach me? His father's hair was tousled. I'll show you some special chakra control exercises. While you go home and prepare your bag, I'm going to buy some stuff and equipment that we will need. We are going to travel fast, so don't overload the bag with needless things. One thing more. You can bring any of your friends as long they are able to do the water walking technique and they have their parents' permission. We will meet at the gate in 2 hours, said as he left. Sasuke stood up and went to the door as soon as Arashi said that. As they made their way to Kakashi's apartment, Naruto said, I'll see you at the gate, Naruto. Sakura and Ino, like the Uchiha, departed. Many of the students left the classroom before Iruka could take any action. The remaining pupils were examined by the Chunin teacher. Poor Yondaime-sama. He doesn't know what he is getting into, believed. After 2 hours when Arashi saw the group waiting for him at the gate, his mouth nearly fell open. Naruto grinned and said, Hey Dad, see, we won't be traveling alone. Arashi was mistaken to believe that Naruto and he would be traveling to Suna alone, with only Shino, Shikamaru, and possibly Sasuke joining them. Members of Naruto's class, the class from the previous year, and adults made up the group. Naruto, Shino, Shikamaru, Sasuke, Hinata, Choji, Kiba, Ino, Sakura, and Sai were all members of Naruto's class. Lee, Neji, Tenten, and Haku were members of the upper class. Shikamaru's parents, Ino's parents, Choji's parents, Hiashi Hyuga, and Maeda Guy were the adults. He asked himself, why there are so many people? Kushina laughed. Well, I think it's very obvious for the young ones. She turned to face Sasuke, who was being tormented by Sakura and Ino. Sasuke came because he wants real training. Ino and Sakura came after Sasuke. Next, at Hinata. Hinata came because she is Naruto's friend, and she is after him too. Kushina glanced at Sai, Choji, Akamaru, and Kiba. Kiba came because his sister will be in the finals and he wants to see her. Choji came because all his friends will go too, while Sai came because he is spying Naruto. She focused on the students from the previous class. Haku came because I bet that Naruto invited him, and I think that Lee invited himself and dragged Neji and Tenten with him. About the adults. I don't know. Why don't you ask them? Kushina responded. After they congratulated him, Arashi went to the adults. Arashi-san, we are very glad with your idea of organizing an excursion to Suna, although our children could have told us about it earlier so we could have helped you with the arrangements. Yoshino Nara, Shikamaru's mother. Arashi gave the boy a small glare and thought, I see. Shikamaru made them believe that it was an excursion so his parents would let him come with Naruto and me. Well, I told them about it a bit late. I'm part of the Hokage's escorts. I'll travel to Suna before him in order to arrange his visit, and I thought that it would be a good excuse to show the kids the world outside Konoha. The Uzumaki told them. Yes, their young minds will be amazed by the wonders outside Konoha, my friend, said Guy. With chills running down his spine, Hiashi asked himself, are we going to travel with him? I still don't know why you want to see Suna, there's only sand and it is really hot, said Shukaku. Shuza remarked, and the food is worse. Inoichi remarked, and we can't forget that people there are very apathetic. Remember that you promised us to take us to see another ninja village as apologizing for that incident, their wives replied. Asking himself, what incident? Arashi asked. Recalling Minato's test, Kushina remarked, I believe they are referring to your slut summoning no jutsu. What, are they still angry because that? And it wasn't their fault, he thought. With a laugh that sent chills down Arashi's spine, Kushina remarked, women don't forget those things. He was given a huge bag by a fat woman. Hello, I'm Choji's mother, here are some appetizers for the trip, stated. The thought was horrified, some appetizers. What do Akamichis understand as a big spread? It looks like Mrs. Akamichi finally left the diet and took the ways of her husband's family, Kushina was thinking. A blonde woman was on her way to him. Please, Uzumaki-san, make sure that my Ino-chan eats and drinks enough. She is with that stupid diet and it won't be good for her health, especially considering that she will travel through that dessert and all, said Ino's mom. Overwhelmed, Arashi said, aren't you coming with the kids to Suna? Oh no, we are not ninjas in training. We will take a different route with our husbands, so we won't be a burden for their training. By the way, here's a letter from the Hokage with extra orders, said Yoshino as he handed him a note. Arashi read the note and gave the other men a beseeching glance that they either ignored or failed to notice. This trip is going to take longer than he anticipated, he sighed. After 2 hours, Guy, Hiashi, and the group of children accompanied by Arashi's clones paused at a tavern. You'll understand why the original one remains in Konoha later. Arashi turned to the children. Okay, first of all, how many of you are familiar with the tree climbing exercise? Responded. To his surprise, they all raised their hands. That's good, now. How many of you can do the water walking exercise? Replied. Everyone put up their hands once more. What, how can it be? He queried. It is not very surprising, Min-kun. When Naruto showed them his ability in the Chunin exams in the other timeline, they increased their training to not fall back. The same happened again after the parents' visit day. Kushina replied. Arashi grinned and thought, they are truly the most promising group of shinobi in years. Wait a moment, Lee. You said that you can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu. How can you do that exercises? Said Naruto. That's a very good question, Naruto-kun. It is true that Lee can't mold chakra, but it doesn't mean that he can't use it. For that reason he is able to do the chakra exercises, Guy replied. Okay. I'm glad to see that all you meet the requirements for harder exercises. We will take an hour for rest. I suggest to take the chance to meet those who are not in your class. After that we will run until dinner time and we will camp. The real training will begin as soon as we reach the border of Wind Country, stated. Arashi spoke with Hiashi, who had a bandage on his forehead, while the older children introduced themselves to the younger ones. A soft voice said, "It must be a pain to pretend to be your brother while you are not in Konoha, isn't it, Hisashi?" "Yes, but it is something necessary. After the incident with Cloud Hiashi, Hyuga is officially dead outside Konoha. At least I don't have to disguise myself with henge or something like that. I just have to cover my forehead and respond to a very similar name," Hyuga replied. "He made a great sacrifice for the village. You don't know how much I must repeat myself that my friend didn't come back from the grave when I see you with that bandage, but it must be worse for Neji," Arashi said. "It was at first, but since Neji discovered how Hisashi defied his fate, he doesn't feel too tense whenever I have to do this facade," Hiashi replied. As he embraced both men, Guy said, "Don't worry Hiashi-san, Neji's youthful flames will burn all the resentment and soon he will see you as a parental figure." As the children from various classes interacted with one another, the adults continued to converse. When Sai said that all the girls were less feminine than Haku, Sakura and Ino became extremely envious of Haku's beauty. Tenten discovered that the other girls weren't just the fangirls they appeared to be, and the poor spy remained unconscious for the remainder of the day. Later, with an eager Lee using the unconscious Sai as extra training, they departed the tavern and hurried to the Fire and Wind Country borders. With the exception of Lee, who claimed that the race was a good warm-up, nearly all of the children collapsed to the ground exhausted when they reached the border at sunset. They ate dinner following a scene in which Guy praised Lee's flames of youth, this time with a sunset. Sakura and Ino skipped their diet this time. The following morning, Arashi turned to face the group of children, now facing the desert. "Okay. As you probably should know, Suna doesn't have an abundance of trees or water. For that reason most Suna nins don't know the tree climbing exercise or the water walking. However, they have something that Konoha lacks: sand and an extreme heat. Their ninjas developed 2 chakra exercises needed to survive in these conditions. Without these exercises somebody wouldn't survive too long in a desert without the proper equipment," stated. The majority of the children gulped. They had heard that Suna used more rigorous, though not particularly harsh, training techniques. This was viewed as a challenge by Naruto, Sasuke, Neji, and Lee. Hinata was a little afraid, but she chose not to let it stop her, especially in front of her father. Arashi grinned. "Don't worry, we won't get into the desert until all of you get some familiarity with the exercises. Let me explain the first one," replied. Similar to water walking, the first exercise was modified to involve walking on sand rather than water. In order to make chakra rackets that would disperse their weight on the sand and prevent them from sinking, it was constant in directing chakra toward the feet and molding it. According to Arashi, the Snow Country ninja also used this exercise to practice walking on snow. Initially, Sakura, Hinata, Neji, Tenten, and Haku performed the exercises. After 1.5 days, everyone arrived, though the others took longer. Under his mask, Arashi grinned as he observed them. "Not bad. You have talent, I recognize it. Now the next exercise is the one that really will let you survive in the desert. The last one was only to ease your movement." The next workout was more difficult. It involved making a tiny chakra cloak that encased the entire body and served to shield the ninja from the intense heat and sunburn. The ninja would discover that he was out of chakra if he lacked sufficient chakra control. The better a ninja managed this exercise, the better he would be shielded from the sun, he added. He gave the example of how some Suna shinobi trained by wearing war paint in their faces and using the exercise to keep the paint from melting. Suna Konkuro sneezed somewhere. As before, Sakura, Hinata, Neji, Tenten, and Haku completed the exercises first, but it took them longer. After 2.5 days, everyone was able to use it, just like the other students. Then they started traveling across the desert. The most sensible course of action would have been to instruct them to use both exercises, but the adults decided that it would be better to proceed with just the protective cloak because the majority of them lacked the chakra capacity and control to perform both techniques simultaneously for an extended period of time. The majority of the students had minor sunburns and were extremely exhausted at the end of their first day in the desert. Guy asked Sai if he was using the gates because he had changed from being as white as a corpse to looking like a tomato. Fortunately for everyone, Hinata brought some homemade sunburn bombs that made everyone's skin feel like a baby's. On the second day, Arashi proposed that those who weren't too exhausted could ride along with the others as an additional form of exercise. Sakura and Ino collapsed to the ground and begged Sasuke for assistance, but he disregarded them. In the end, Naruto and Sai took both girls. For the remainder of the day, she felt as though someone everyone knows who I'm referring to was glaring at her. Everyone's chakra control and endurance had improved by the third day, but Arashi had to put up with the children asking him questions whenever they came. On the fourth day, they finally arrived at Suna's gates, where Shikamaru's parents, Choji and Ino, as well as the original Arashi, were waiting for them. He got the memories of Arashi's clones after they dispelled themselves. Arashi now respected Iruka and Ebisu more after nearly a week of dealing with the children. In the meantime, two figures with red clouds and black cloaks set out on their own quest for Suna. The parents of Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji welcomed them. While the fathers gazed proudly at their children for completing a feat like crossing the desert, the mothers gave them hugs. After making the reservations, the group went to the hotel. While they were traveling, Naruto observed that the men were staring at his father in an unfriendly manner, while the Suna women were giggling and blushing a little. "Dad, do you know why people in Suna look at you like that? What happened these days?" replied. "I don't know. I was under a henge last days. Today is the first day I walk in Suna without it. I think that my squad's fame has reached there and they must be curious about a member of Konoha's Hand of Death." Arashi, unaware of the real reason. He was well known among Suna ninjas for other reasons, even though the truth was that he was well known in Suna because of certain pictures. It made sense that Suna had the largest percentage of wind users among the ninja villages since they were located in the wind country and had access to some of the best wind jutsus. Numerous wind users attempted to use wind chakra to create a means of flight, but all of their attempts were unsuccessful. It was like a kick in the ass for their pride to know that a foreign ninja had achieved that dream. To make matters worse, it was discovered that this Black Angel man could also make clones out of air, which many of them believed was impossible. Therefore, it was not shocking that the Kazekage soon learned about the Black Angel in Suna. "Baki, we should keep an eye on that man. We must find out why Konoha kept a ninja of that skill in secret and decided to show him now. During last months our stupid daimyo is reducing the amount of missions assigned to us and giving them to Konoha. A wind user of that skill in Konoha won't help us to get back the daimyo's trust. Perhaps we should have to deal with this Arashi before he becomes a more serious threat to our economy," said the Kazekage. They arrived at the hotel. "Okay. I would have wished that we could have more rooms, but with the finals of the Chunin exams the available rooms were very limited, so we will have to share rooms," Shukaku replied. Nobody voiced any complaints about the Nara, Akamichi, and Yamanaka couples having separate rooms. Choji, Sasuke, and Sai would be in a separate room. Hiashi would be in the same room as Neji because he was pretending to be his dead brother. The way the elder Hyuga referred to his daughter as Hinata-sama was peculiar. Guy loved to sleep outside, and Arashi realized that they would be sharing a room. Another room would be shared by Naruto, Shikamaru, Shino, and Haku. The last room would be reserved for Ino, Sakura, and Tenten. Ino made sure the girls were in the best room possible, but they nearly burst into tears when they learned that they would only have a certain amount of water for the shower. "What? I have half the desert on my hair and I'm soaked in my own sweat," Ino said. After learning that Hana was in the finals, Kiba's mother, Sume Inuzuka, traveled to Suna a few weeks ago to provide his daughter with additional training. In order to surprise them, Kiba and Akamaru went to the hotel where they were staying. Everyone benefited from the brief showers after spending days in the desert, and their regard for their sand allies significantly increased. All of the children went to bed after dinner after realizing how exhausted they were. To meet the Hokage's delegation, Arashi, Guy, and Hiashi traveled to the desert the following morning. Because Suna's market was brimming with exotic goods and the Wind Country had some significant trade agreements with countries across the sea, the wives dragged their husbands to the market area. Sakura, Tenten, and Ino joined them. Tenten was more interested in the exotic weapons than the dresses. After agreeing to meet later at a playground they spotted close to Suna's academy, the remaining children split up into various groups to explore different areas of Suna. Even though Lee had no idea why they were going to the residential district, he insisted on going with Shino, Shikamaru, and Lee to look after their future friends because he believed that the younger ones should be accompanied at least by an upper-class person. Haku, Hinata, Choji, and Naruto made the decision to manage a quality ramen shop. Neji, Sai, and Sasuke maintained a suitable training area. Neji remarked, "After you. Uchiha-san. Please, you first." Hyuga, Sasuke replied. Naruto questioned, "What's going on with those two?" as the groups. It's the old rivalry between our clans. Because both of them are considered prodigies of the clans, they consider each other a rival," Hinata replied. With seriousness, Naruto remarked, well, they must remember that I'm their main rival. Don't forget Lee, he is rival of both you and Neji, cousin, Haku replied. Choji said, yeah, I wonder how will Shino and Shikamaru cope with him. In the meantime, two siblings were informed about the Black Angel in Suna. Tamari. Have you heard it? Naruto's father is in Suna. We must get in contact with him and decide what to do in order to prevent the invasion, replied Kankuro. He is there. Let me take my fan and let's get out to look after him. Perhaps he could help Gaara with his seal, Tamari replied. Kankuro smiled slyly and said, they said that he was seen with a group of academy students from Konoha. I bet that your boyfriend came too. Tamari became enraged and threatened him with her weapon, yelling, Shikamaru is not my boyfriend. The puppet master ducked a blow from his sister and said, yeah, sure. They made the decision to check at the hotels, but they changed their minds when they noticed Lee, Shino, and Shikamaru walking down the street. When Shikamaru saw the siblings, they half smiled, and Shino greeted them. Tamari noticed a smirk on Kankuro's face as she glanced at Shikamaru. I see. They are not the real ones, they must be puppets disguised as them. You are trying to prank me again, don't you, little brother? Well, you'll see who will be the fool now, said the Sand Kunoichi. When she went to see Shikamaru, they saw that, despite only being 11 years old, Tamari was noticeably taller than Shikamaru. AWWWH. You look so cute, Shika-chan, was a very un-Tamari manner of squealing. Her strange demeanor caused everyone to perspire. Shikamaru was about to object when she gave him a hug and a cheek kiss. The Nara blushed and said, who are you and what have you done to Tamari? It was only then that she recognized him as Shikamaru. What? Are you the real one? Isn't this one of Kankuro's pranks? Spoke to her. When the puppeteer learned the truth, he burst out laughing. You thought it was one of my pranks and wanted to prank me back. BWAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAH. He exclaimed as he rolled around on the ground, laughing. When he sensed that his sister was planning to kill him, he stopped laughing. Shut up. This is your fault. If you didn't prank me before I wouldn't have done that, the youngster yelled. After that, she beat the living daylights out of Kankuro. She turned to face the Konoha boys after she was done. This is what awaits you if word spreads about this. Gotcha? She replied. The boys gave a nod. Excuse me, miss, but I noticed that you seem to know Shikamaru from before. How that's possible? Lee responded. Shikamaru lied and said, we were friends by correspondence. Kankuro suggested, why don't we discuss it over a cup of tea at home? Kankuro drugged Lee's tea after everyone nodded, allowing the time travelers to discuss the best course of action to halt the invasion. Using Naruto when his group couldn't find a good ramen place, they went to the market zone, and the young blonde lost himself. He made the decision to wait for the others at the playground. No other children were present. Having the swings and other items to himself would make a typical boy happy, but Naruto found it brought back memories of his time spent all by himself. When he recalled those emotions, he shuddered. Slow down, he told himself, because those days are over and you are no longer alone. When he turned to face the playground once more, he saw an abandoned ball. What could I do? I'm no longer interested in these child games. I know, I'll play dodgeball with my clones. It will be also a good training, said. He started a battle royale with a group of clones he had made. He had the ball with him when he executed the jutsu, so it was also imitated. The playground was soon filled with yellow balls, smoke explosions, and the cries of the clones that had been struck before being expelled. When a clone threw a ball at him, the real Naruto easily dodged it, only to realize that a boy walking by was about to be struck. A shout of, "Watch out," was heard. The ball was blocked by a wall of sand that materialized in front of the red-headed boy. The boy gave Naruto and his clones a frustrated glance. Sabaku no Gaara was perplexed by his siblings' peculiar behavior during the previous week. First of all, they no longer appeared to be afraid of him, rather, whenever they gazed upon him, they appeared to be sad rather than afraid. They then expressed their regret to him for not being the older siblings they were meant to be. They requested an opportunity to work things out with him. Gaara had a part that wanted to accept them, to believe them. However, according to Mother, their goal was to gain his trust so they could attack him when he was unprepared, like Yashimaru did. He violently rejected them. He thought they would treat him as usual after that, but they continued to act strangely. He was so engrossed in his thoughts that he failed to notice the ball approaching him, but he was protected by his sand. As he got ready to use his desert coffin to trap the blonde boy, Gaara thought, more blood for mother. Naruto exclaimed, "Wow, that was cool, how did you do it?" "What? He doesn't know who I am. And why there are boys who look like him. They must be bunchins, but I didn't hear about any student able to create so many clones," said Gaara to himself. "Who cares? Crush him, turn the sand red," replied his mother. Naruto threw another ball at him, interrupting their conversation. "First we will." As anticipated, the sand blocked the ball. "That's a real useful power. Does it work too against weapons? Is it a blood limit or something like that?" said Naruto. Gaara remarked, "You really don't know who I am." No, I'm from Konoha and I came there yesterday with my father and my friends to see the Chunin exams. My father is one of the Hokage's escorts and he thought it would be good to me to see the world outside Konoha," said the young man with blonde hair. "So that's the reason," Gaara thought as he got ready to crush the obnoxious blonde with his sand. "I'm Sabaku no Gaara, now I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the future Hokage. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't you play dodgeball with my clones and me? With that power of yours and my numbers, it will be really fun." Naruto offered his hand without realizing the danger. For the first time, someone wanted to play with Gaara and wasn't afraid of his power, which left him completely bewildered. Although it was true that this Naruto boy was unaware of the power that was sealed inside of him, to act as though he was using it in a game. Gaara brought back memories of his visits to that playground to watch the other kids play and his unsuccessful attempts to join them. What he had desired as a child was now available to him. The tenant said, "Don't trust him, kill him now," but he disregarded it, as of right now. As she gazed at the ball in Naruto's hands, she said, "Let's give it a try." Both Jinchurikis played a variety of ball games over the course of the following hour, but dodgeball was their main focus. Gaara was hit by Naruto's clone's balls, but his sand shield prevented any damage. Gaara changed tactics and used the balls he had caught as well as some sand-made ones. While some of Naruto's clones were struck and dispelled, the majority of them managed to avoid Gaara's attack. Gaara was not reserving his blows. The real Naruto cried, "What about this? Cage ball no jutsu." At that moment, the blonde multiplied it with his ball using the cage shuriken no jutsu, and his clones launched a multifaceted attack on Gaara. But Gaara was shielded from harm by the cocoon that his sand created. "Hey, why don't you try to dodge the attacks? The game is named dodgeball after all. If your shield acts it will count as a hit for me," Naruto replied. Gaara remarked, "Whatever, but no clones from your part." With a nod, Naruto pushed the clones away. Gaara started having issues in the game since he had to move and stop using his shield to protect himself, and he found it more enjoyable. Gaara saw that Naruto was starting to gain points and that the blonde was now avoiding his attacks a little better. Unaware that some Suna villagers and ninjas were looking on in horror and wondering who the mysterious boy was for daring to play with Gaara, they continued to play for an additional hour. The boys then paused the game to rest. Naruto remarked as he sat by Gaara's side, "Geez. It was funny, at first I thought that you couldn't move like you did, but you have almost as much stamina as me." Although he would not acknowledge it, Gaara also had a good time. In fact, he had never enjoyed himself so much in his life. At last, they became aware of the group observing them, and one of the ninjas made their way to Naruto. The blonde made sure to stay out of Gaara's reach and said, "Boy, for why your own sake, keep away from Gaara, it is not safe to be near him." Gaara pondered, "What does this idiot want?" Naruto asked, "Why?" The man gave Gaara a quick glance and braced himself to leap back if Gaara attacked. "You don't know the truth about Gaara. He is not human. Years ago the Kazekage ordered to seal the Ichibi on him in order to turn him into a weapon. But things were not as expected and he became a monster," stated prior to walking away. Naruto gave Gaara a confused look. "See, Gaara. Now he will start to look at you with fear and hate. Kill him, I'm the only one who cares for you," Shukaku said. At last, Naruto recognized Gaara. "He is like me. Dad told me about him. He is supposed to become my friend and later the Kazekage after we fight in the invasion. He also felt the same loneliness as me. But his life was even worser than mine. And he didn't have any friends nor somebody as the old man was speechless." Naruto's bewildered expression changed to one of rage. Unexpectedly, though, he appeared enraged at the villagers rather than Gaara. Naruto became even angrier as he thought, "Those are the same eyes that I had to look in Konoha. You're a bunch of idiots. Gaara is not a monster, he is just a kid like me, can't you see it? Screaming. Gaara couldn't understand why this child was standing up for him. The ninja said, "Boy, you don't understand what you are talking about, he is a killer and," before being cut off. "No. You are the one who doesn't know what he is talking about. If you can't see the difference between the container and the content, then you are not worth of being a ninja," said Naruto. Then he turned to face the villagers. "And it comes for you too. You are just a group of scaredy cats, now leave me alone with my friend," shouted. Gaara was shocked by these final words. "Friend. He knows the truth but he doesn't care and he thinks about me as his friend," believed. The blonde boy was about to receive a lesson from the ninja when he briefly noticed that his eyes were red and had slits in them. It was then that he realized that the boy could be even more angry than Gaara. He also understood that if someone attacked Gaara who claimed to be his friend, Gaara would not take it well. Between whispers, the villagers followed the ninja's lead and left the scene. Gaara gave Naruto a perplexed look. "Why, you really mean it? Aren't you scared of me?" replied. Naruto gave a nod. Puzzled, Gaara said, But why, how could you sympathize with me?" With a sorrowful grin, Naruto turned to face Gaara. "Because I know what you felt. I didn't lie when I said that you were a kid like me. You know I also have a demon sealed inside me, the Kyuubi no Kitsune," Gaara bitterly replied. When Naruto's friends arrived on the scene and heard the blonde's final words, none of the Jinchurikis took notice. In the meantime, the Kazekage returned from his encounter with the Sandaime Hokage, where he observed the animosity the Hokage's escort, the Black Angel, appeared to have toward him. He saw that someone was concealed behind the curtains when he entered his chamber. When he felt pain inside his head from a seal that had been put there years prior, he was ready to call the guards and throw a kunai at the intruder. The intruder emerged from hiding after the Kazekage released the kunai and knelt down in front of him. The Kazekage said, "Master Sasori, welcome back to Suna." On their way to the playground meeting spot, Konoha's student groups came across one another. After they lost in the market zone, Hinata was a little concerned for Naruto, but Shino reassured her that he would be fine. Following the dog boy's visit to his mother and sister, Kiba and Akamaru joined them. Sume sent him back with his friends so he wouldn't interfere with his sister's training. After their sparring match ended in a stalemate, Neji and Sasuke appeared somewhat exhausted and were eager to meet again after further training. Shikamaru and Shino presented the Sand siblings to the other Konoha students en route. When Tamari saw the shopping bags Sakura and Ino were carrying, she smirked at them. Just as she opened her mouth to remark scathingly about them, a woman walking by said something. "Have you seen that? There's a boy playing with Gaara. Somebody should come and warn him," replied. Tamari turned to face the lady. "Where are they? Who's that boy?" was said in a commanding manner. Before the wind user went in that direction, he managed to say, "T Tamari-sama. He is a blonde boy with an orange jumpsuit. There in the playground near the academy. You should." "Let's go. What are you waiting for?" was the command. Sai remarked, "She is even bossier than Ino." "I'm not bossy," was the objection. Everyone in unison thought, "Yeah, sure." When they got to the playground, Naruto was chatting with a boy with a red hair. None of them noticed their presence because they were so engrossed in their conversation. With a sorrowful grin, Naruto turned to face Gaara. "Because I know what you felt. I didn't lie when I said that you were a kid like me. You know, I also have a demon sealed inside me, the Kyuubi no Kitsune," Gaara bitterly replied. When Naruto's friends arrived on the scene and heard the blonde's final words, none of the Jinchurikis took notice. Naruto's words shocked the Konoha children who were unaware of the truth. Shikamaru put his hand over Ino's mouth as she opened her mouth to speak, telling her to stop. The blonde girl would have objected, but she could tell Shikamaru was serious by the expression in his eyes. Gaara and Naruto carried on their conversation. "Wait a moment, wasn't the Kyuubi defeated by the Yondaime Hokage?" replied Gaara. "That's the official story, but no human being has the power to kill something like a Biju. The only way to stop it was to seal it in a newborn baby, with undeveloped chakra coils that would adapt to the fox's chakra," Naruto said. Gaara turned her attention to Naruto. Before they could speak, the Naruto's friends who were unaware of the Kyuubi were shocked to realize that Shikamaru was leading them behind one of the play domes with his shadow to hide from the Jinchurikis. "The Yondaime Hokage wanted me to be treated as a hero for keeping the fox at bay, but some villagers couldn't see the difference between me and the fox while others were afraid that the seal wouldn't work properly. In order to protect me, the reinstated Sandaime Hokage created a law that forbidded everyone to tell the truth about that night. The younger generations in Konoha don't know that I'm the container of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, stated. Some of Naruto's friends thought it was a joke, while others were shocked by what he was discussing. But things didn't go as the Hokage would have wanted. The parents told their children to stay away from me, and I had to live most of my life coping with the glares and the villagers ignoring me. I lost my parents in the Kyuubi attack, so I was completely alone. To gain attention, I turned into the class clown, and I spend most time pulling pranks instead of working in my dream to be Hokage. I took a mask of happiness to hide my true emotions. The truth is that I wasn't as happy as I seemed, said sorrowfully. Everyone was shocked, with the exception of Hinata and the time travelers. Was Naruto's behavior merely a performance? Naruto's lips formed a small smile. Things weren't so bad. During my years in the academy, I managed to gain some friends in my class, and the Hokage was always kind to me. That was one of the reasons I wanted to be Hokage. The owners of the Ichiraku ramen stand were also good with me. I don't know what would have happened if I didn't had them. Perhaps I would have freaked out, said with an inviting grin. His remarks moved Kiba, Shoji, and Shikamaru. Hinata regretted not becoming friends with Naruto sooner. Naruto appeared to be happier now. Then one day things changed for better. My father came back. He couldn't be with me during my childhood for reasons beyond his power. We established as a clan, and he began to train me. One day he told me the truth about the fox and... Wait a moment. You didn't know that you had the fox sealed in you? Replied Gaara. No. Why? Naruto inquired. Gaara asked himself, does this mean that he can sleep? Never mind. Go on, Gaara said. Naruto went on to tell his tale. What were I talking about? Oh yes. My father told me about the fox and apologized for choosing me as the container of the fox. Then Hinata appeared and convinced me that I was not the fox, and she became my best friend. I got more friends, more precious people. Some of them also know about the fox, but they don't care about it. Now I'm keeping with my dream to be Hokage, but now I don't want to be Hokage to be respected. I want to be Hokage to protect my precious people and everybody in the village, Naruto replied. Then, highlighting his friend's positive traits, Naruto told Gaara about them. Naruto's words had an impact on said friends. Being regarded as a valuable individual by Naruto and his best friend made Hinata very happy. Despite her concerns about the other people's reactions, she made the decision to back Naruto. When Naruto's father assured him that he understood his father Hiashi's feelings when he condemned his son to carry an unwanted seal that would ruin his life, Neji was reminded. It was absurd to compare the caged bird seal to the Kyuubi seal. Despite having a worse fate than him, Naruto was smiling and defying it. Sasuke was thinking back on Naruto's life. He was deceived, but he decided against exacting revenge. He questioned whether Naruto's power came from the Kyuubi, where his own power ended and the Kyuubi's began. When Kiba remarked to his mother that Naruto smelled like foxes, he finally understood why she had advised him to keep his mouth shut and not tell anyone. The villagers' lack of devotion to their former leader degraded him. When other children refused to play with him due to his slowness and weight, Shoji reminded them, before joining the academy, Naruto had no one, but at least he had Shikamaru and his parents. He became aware of his good fortune. In their timeline, Shikamaru and Shino learned about Naruto's tenant, but they were never informed of Naruto's past life. Because Abarames were also avoided and had other beings living in their bodies, one might have assumed that Shino would identify with Naruto, but this was untrue. Because they were a close-knit clan and had personal swarms to keep them company, Abarames never experienced loneliness. Haku was the one who could relate to Naruto the most because he understood what it was like to be despised for something over which you have no control. Naruto's story nearly brought Sakura and Ino to tears. They recalled how they called Naruto a loser and insulted him. Even though Naruto stopped making requests weeks ago, Sakura promised herself that she would agree to go out with him the next time he asked. Even though Tenten had only known Naruto for a few days, she could tell this boy would make a good friend. With waterfall tears in his eyes, Lee vowed to continue pursuing his goal of becoming a skilled ninja using only taijutsu and to be a worthy opponent for someone as young as Naruto. Temari and Kankuro realized that if they had given their younger brother more support, maybe Gaara wouldn't have gone that way. They hoped that Naruto's words would affect their brother in the same way that their battle had affected them in their timeline. Sai's face remained unchanged, but he now felt more conflicted about his allegiance to his blonde friend in Danzo. In the end, everyone promised themselves that they would stand by Naruto regardless of what the others thought, at least until Naruto started pointing out their flaws to Gaara. Gaara remained silent because this boy's life was too similar to his own, despite some differences. Gaara made the decision to inform Naruto about him. My story is a bit different from yours. My father, the Yondaime Kazekage, decided to turn me into weapon. Suna had the Ichibi sealed in a special pot. He ordered to seal the Biju in me, with my mother used as the sacrifice needed for the sealing process. Gaara replied. Naruto cried out in rage, "What, your father killed your mother only to have a weapon?" Temari and Kankuro sadly reminded their mother that the others were also incensed. Gaara flashed an unsettling grin. Yes, but I didn't turn into the weapon my father wanted. I happened to be very unstable to be a proper weapon. Everyone was afraid of my powers, even my siblings, and soon there were assassinations attempts on my life, some of them ordered by my own father, Gaara replied. The hidden ones and Naruto were taken aback. How could a father harm his own son in that way? The Sand siblings turned away from their father because they felt ashamed of him. With a psychopath's smile and some murderous intent, Gaara uttered, "But the spirit of my mother protected me with the Sand shield and protected me from any harm. Then came that night when my own uncle tried to kill me and I realized that I had to kill to prove my existence." In Gaara's mind, Shukaku yelled, "Yes, show him our true face, make this fool realize WHO is dealing with and then kill him." The others were afraid, but Naruto remained silent. "See these bags under my eyes? They're from my lack of sleep because a mere nap would unleash the monster that is sealed in me. This gave me a lot of free time to meditate about my existence and to talk with my mother about the best way to punish the world," said while pointing to his eyes. Naruto unexpectedly hurried over to Gaara. The Sand Jinchuriki's sand shield failed to provide the protection he had hoped for. The blonde boy hugged his fellow Jinchuriki instead of attacking Gaara. Almost impenetrable, the sand shield shielded Gaara from everything that could hurt him, including people who were afraid of him or hostile toward him. However, it appeared to have no effect on those who were grieving for Gaara. "I'm so sorry, Gaara. I never thought that somebody could have a worse life than mine," Naruto replied. Gaara gasped. Did this boy truly feel sorry for him? Is he not supposed to fear or despise him? The sand shield ought to have been effective. Shukaku yelled, "What are you waiting for? Kill him." Gaara ignored him because it was the first time he had ever received an embrace and the sensation was entirely foreign to him. He felt as though the inner anguish he had been experiencing all of his life had subsided. Breaking the embrace, Naruto turned to face Gaara. "I don't know what would happen to me if I didn't have somebody who cared for me. Gaara, don't give up. There must be somebody who cares about you. You only have to look around and you'll find them. They will give you a better reason to prove your existence. Then you could prove this village that you are not a monster, but somebody who will protect them from harm with your powers," said with an inviting grin. They sensed two presences behind them just as Gaara was ready to inform him that no one was interested in him. Temari and Kankuro were staring at Gaara with tears in their eyes when they turned around. As Naruto had done previously, the elder siblings hurried and embraced their younger brother. The sand shield remained motionless. "Gaara, I am very sorry. I should have been there for you. But I was a coward and stupid and didn't see beyond the beast why you held. At first I hated you because I blamed you for Kasan's death. But it wasn't your fault, now I realize that. I hope that you would forgive us someday," said Temari as she wept. Same goes for me, Gaara. We don't care anymore if you have a monster or not. We are a family and we will be there for you. We won't betray you. Please, Gaara, give us a chance to be your siblings again, replied Kankuro. Without Shikamaru using the Kagemane to restrain Lee, who wanted to join the Sand siblings in their youthful display of fraternal affection, the Konoha students were trying their best to hide their tears in their hideout. Gaara was perplexed. Didn't his sand shield also not work with them? This shouldn't be feasible. Gaara, the murderer, claimed that they were lying to him and attempting to surprise him in order to appease his mother. However, there was more to him. The young boy who trusted Yashimaru only to have him betrayed. The boy who wanted to play with the other children but was turned away. Gaara stated that he had always detested this boy and believed that he had died the night that Yashimaru attempted to murder him. Then Gaara understood. Was it because he was unable to touch Yashimaru? Since he detested him? Now, though, his siblings could do it. Maybe it indicates that they truly love her? Don't trust them. They're lying to you. Believe me. I'm the only one WHO was with you all your life. They're going to hurt you again. Show them how we treat traitors, instructed Shukaku. Gaara was unsure of what to do. Put your trust in them and risk injury again, or injure them before they injure him. After a few seconds, he released the embrace and turned to face Naruto and his siblings. Before disappearing in a whirlpool of sand, he said, I need to think about this. Meet me tomorrow in the outskirts of the village and I will give you my decision. You can come too, Naruto. Now, Naruto was by himself with Kankuro and Temari. The short blonde said, You are Gaara's siblings, don't you? Yes, we are. Thank you very much, Naruto. You don't know how much you did for us and our younger brother, Temari replied. You were sincere when you told that to Gaara, don't you? Because if you lied I'm going to attempted to say Naruto. Don't worry brat, we were sincere. We want our little brother back, replied Kankuro. Hey. Who are calling brat, you clown? You took your sister's makeup and walks with a cat pajamas. Who's the brat? Laughed Naruto. As he began to wrestle with Naruto, Kankuro yelled, What, this is war paint. And my sister doesn't use makeup, haven't you seen that she is a tomboy with an oversized fan? Temari entered the fray. The irate wind mistress yelled, Me a tomboy? How you dare to question my feminity? The Konoha students, meanwhile, were finishing up their analysis of the secrets they had just learned. The others were thinking the same thing, so they asked Ino, Who's Naruto? Shino answered her. Naruto. He will be our Hokage in the future. A leader deserving of the title he will eventually hold. The Aburame said, nothing else. After realizing that Shino was telling the truth, they all decided to assist their future leader as much as possible on his journey to Hokage, taking the risk of leaving their hiding place now that Naruto was occupied. Hi Naruto, it appears that you got to meet Kankuro and Temari. Do you mind if we join you? Shikamaru inquired. No, you're welcome, Naruto said as he locked Kankuro's head. After a few minutes of fighting that devolved into a battle royale, they returned to the hotel somewhat battered but content. Unbeknownst to them, the Kazekage had been watching Naruto's conversation with Gaara on his crystal ball when he developed a sinister scheme and decided it was time to use his new genjutsu technique on his weapon. Arashi was out for a walk with Hiashi, posing as Hisashi, Shuza, Inoichi, and Shukaku after leaving some clones with the Hokage. They were searching for a good place to drink, but Suna's laws prohibited local stores from selling alcohol because it was extremely unhealthy in a place with a climate like Suna's. A man who appeared to be a water country merchant approached them and promised them the best smuggling sake from all elemental nations. Under normal circumstances, they would have refused to buy bootleg goods, but the three of them convinced themselves that they were only going to buy something that was entirely legal in their village, and Arashi and Hiashi accompanied them to ensure they wouldn't run into any issues. They went to a clothes store with a secret bar in the basement. In addition to ninjas and civilians from other villages who came to watch the Chunin exams, the majority of the patrons were locals, and after paying twice for their drinks, they participated in one of the poker games that were being played. They had a 50-50 chance of winning and losing until 4 Cloud Nins joined the game. It appeared that he brought them there following a training session, and the older one was their Jonin sensei, while the younger ones were clearly Genin students. While one of the students was a very attractive girl who was aspiring to become another Tsunade, the other two had extremely tanned skin and were most likely brothers and sisters. Their sensei was a tall, dark-skinned man with an afro hairstyle, sunglasses, and an odd tattoo on his face. Neither Shikaku's card-counting strategy nor the man's exceptionally fortunate hands allowed him to win any of the games. When the Cloud Nin received his 5th poker ladder, the inebriated trio finally lost it. Enough. You are clearly cheating, and I'm not sure how you manage it. Admit it, Shuza cried out. Why do you have the right to call me cheating? The Cloud Nin brandished a pair of swords and exploded. Nobody insults the man and lives. When Asuna Jonin and the tavern's owner stepped in, the group of ninjas was getting ready for the usual tavern fight. Look, we're not going to allow any altercations here. The Jonin, whom Arashi recognized as Baki, said, You are in Suna and you must respect our rules. Baki's gaze shifted to the alien nins. As we do in Suna for this kind of issue, you should settle this with a duel at dawn if you can't demonstrate that you were deceived and if you believe your honor was violated. Pointing to the groups, he stated, the best option would be a battle between the strongest ninjas of each group. While the Cloud Ninjas gazed at their sensei, the Konoha Ninjas gazed at Arashi. It will be interesting, Arashi said. So, my stings will be felt by you, huh? By the way, who are you? The Cloud Nin inquired. Arashi offered his hand in response. Arashi Uzumaki, the Black Angel of Konoha and part of the Hand of Death. This is the well-known Black Angel, then? Is his name meant to frighten me? the other man thought. He has no idea what he is getting himself into. Grinning, the Cloud Nin squeezed Arashi's hand. Killer B, Master Swordman and the guy who will kick your ass tomorrow. After in the office of Kazekage, what do you want? Asked the man who had ruined Gaara's life. In other situations, the Ichibi would have used his chakra to free Gaara from a genjutsu, but he changed his mind after learning the Kazecage's particular genjutsu's purpose. Suddenly, he felt as though a foreign chakra had bombed his mind. Excellent, son. What plans do you have for tomorrow? The Kazekage inquired in a cunning manner. I'm going to prove my existence by killing Naruto Uzumaki, Gaara cried. Future morning after a brief breakfast, Naruto went to meet his siblings Gaara on the outskirts of the village. However, the redhead did not specify where they would meet, so he would be circling the village walls until Gaara showed up. When Naruto noticed that a group of people were gathered near the eastern gate for a special occasion, he assumed that Gaara would not be among them, and the crowd would not want to be close to him, so he assumed that Gaara would be close to the western gate and went there. He would have witnessed the impending duel between his father and the Raikage brother if he had bothered to approach the crowd to find out why they were there. When he discovered Gaara and his siblings arriving at the western gate's outskirts, his suspicions were confirmed, but there was a problem with his fellow Jinchuriki. Since they had just met Gaara there, Tamari and Kankuro also observed that he was spreading more murderous intent than usual. "Hi, Gaara. Are you okay? Why are you staring at me that way?" inquired Naruto. He was attacked by a wave of sand before he could finish speaking. Naruto would have been captured by his killer sand if he hadn't realized that something was amiss with Gaara. "Gaara, what are you doing?" inquired Naruto. "I am moving on to murder you," muttered Gaara, grinning slyly. He launched 2 sand shurikens at Naruto, but Temari's open fan deflected them. "Gaara, you're attacking Naruto, but why? Just for Kami's sake, he's your friend," the Wind Mistress said. Now, Tamari and Kankuro stood between Naruto and Gaara, prepared to protect the former. As Tamari opened her fan, Kankuro unveiled his tree-eyed puppet and said, "Little brother, I don't know what's going on in your head, but as your older siblings we have the responsibility to stop you to do the biggest mistake of your life. You really believe you can prevent me from proving my existence? Do not forget where we are engaged in combat," Gaara chuckled. Tamari and Kankuro were caught and pinned against the village walls before they could do anything about the 2 enormous sand claws that had formed beneath them. "Gaara, they're your siblings. This is not what you should do. Do you wish to turn into the monster the villagers believe you to be?" Naruto thought. Gaara didn't respond and turned his arm into a clawed sand arm. Then, Naruto saw that Gaara appeared to be in a trance because his eyes were too fixed. Naruto took his training to identify and counter genjutsu, which included figuring out when someone else was under a genjutsu, very seriously during the past few months. He must be being used by someone, but who would want me dead in Suna? I have to. Gaara attacked Naruto with his sand claw before he could react, extending it and taking the blonde by surprise. Arashi with the X-Cage became irritated and on guard. After last day's incident, word of the duel quickly spread and reached the ears of the Cages, who were surprised to see such a large audience for his duel against Kurabi. As spectators, the Sandaime Hokage, Yondaime Kazekage, and the newly appointed Godem Raikage stood with parasols. The worst part was that his opponent was the younger brother of the Raikage, and if Arashi killed or crippled him, it would be a diplomatic sham. He could allow his opponent to win, but that would put Konoha in a bad position, and he was too proud to hand the victory to someone he considered to be a lesser foe. After giving the impression that they were matched, he chose to prolong the fight for a few minutes before knocking out his opponent. "Hey Blondie, you know, I think I won't fight at my full potential. These people came to see a good fight and I should let you show off a little before I kick your ass," replied Kurabi. Arashi's perspiration fell. Kurabi revealed his chin and said, "I'll even let you give me the first hit." Moving quickly, Arashi positioned himself behind the Cloud Nin. "And kicked his ass, literally. I strongly advise you to take your fight seriously," Arashi stated solemnly. The Konoha Nin just managed to avoid the axe kick that his enraged opponent delivered before Kurabi vanished and reappeared behind Arashi. Everyone was shocked, except for the more seasoned ninjas, who assumed Kurabi was a brat, but appearances can be deceiving. The gloating vanished from Kurabi. "Excellent, Blondie. It appears that I won't have to resist you," she said with a smile. Under his mask, Arashi replied, "Me neither. He will find this amusing." Using Naruto's face was just a few inches away from where the claw stopped. To Shikamaru, Kagemane no Jutsu, success, was said. After Naruto, we made the right decision. This time, I sincerely hoped he could transform Gaara without resorting to violence. What a drag, I thought. It looks like Gaara will have to be beaten to sense again. Naruto noticed that Shino, Choji, Hinata, Neji, Sasuke, Haku, and Sai were with Nara. Gaara attempted to move after realizing that Shikamaru's shadow had captured his. Naruto, get out, I can't hold him any longer, she yelled. In response, Naruto leapt for his companions. Gaara has a genjutsu on. Before he harms anyone, we have to release him, Naruto uttered. Sasuke remarked, we could free him with pain or focusing our chakra into his body. In an attempt to break free from the Sandclaw, Kankuro stated, the problem is that it is almost impossible to get close to him with his defenses. I've thought of a plan. Do you have one of those new seals you made with you, Naruto? Shikamaru questioned, clutching Gaara. Though he didn't have any of them, Naruto was aware of what Shikamaru was thinking. No, but if you give me enough time, I can make some of them. Bunshin no Jutsu Kage. As he produced 24 clones ready to attack Gaara, Naruto uttered those words. I see. Shikamaru remarked, Neji, Hinata, release Kankuro and Temari with your chakra-infused strikes. The others attack Gaara from various directions. With the help of 2 clones, the original Naruto went ahead and wrote the symbols on the paper tags. In the meantime, the Sand siblings were set free by Hinata and Neji using their chakra palm strikes. Never in my life have I felt such a sense of murderous intent. As Hinata destroyed one of the fingers, she thought, I must be brave like Naruto-kun. The others thought the same thing, but they overcame their fear and launched an attack. I have to make it through this if I want to beat him, Sasuke thought. Sasuke yelled, Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu, fire-style art of the Phoenix Flower, as he launched several fire projectiles at Gaara. This is not the best place for my techniques, but I think that water will interfere with his sand, Haku reflected. They yelled, Suigen, water release, Waterfang bullet, as water projectiles came at Sasuke from the other side. As Naruto's clones threw shurikens that multiplied into thousands, they exclaimed, Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique. Sai drew something that charged at Gaara without saying anything. Since Shino and Choji lacked useful range attacks, their only option was to support Neji and Hinata. Every attack struck the immobilized Gaara, which was followed by a sand and smoke cloud. While those attempting to free the Sand siblings succeeded in destroying the Sandclaws, the Konoha students who launched the attack gazed at the smoke, hoping that their combined attack would be successful. Kankuro and Temari became vigilant. Take caution, Temari remarked, your attacks were good, but not enough to hurt him. The Konoha students started to fear for their lives when the smoke cleared and they saw Gaara with an even more psychopathic face and half of his body covered in a hideous sand armor that made him look monstrous. In another area, Guy watched the fight with waterfall tears in his eyes, impressed by the fighter's youth, while Lee, Tenten, Kiba, Sakura, and Ino watched in awe as Naruto's father and the Cloud Nin with the strange haircut engaged in a pure taijutsu match without the use of any kind of ninjutsu, kenjutsu, or genjutsu. Both opponents moved quickly and had impressive taijutsu, and it appeared that Arashi was winning because he was a little quicker and had more taijutsu experience than Kurabi. However, Kurabi didn't appear to be impacted by Arashi's blows, regardless of how many times Kurabi was able to hit Arashi. The spectators put their hands over their necks, gasping at the force of the blow, as Arashi executed a spectacular move that sent Kurabi down with a flying kick to the neck. When the Cloud Nin stood up and moved his neck as if he were warming up, as if the blow had not affected him, they appeared dumbfounded. What is used to make this guy? Iron. Since Naruto's future self, he is the most resilient man I have ever seen, Arashi reflected. Watch out, it's clear that he didn't receive the Jonin for being the younger brother of the Raikage. I can't pinpoint it, but there's something familiar about him, Kushina remarked. Kurabi grinned at Arashi while using a comb to smooth his afro hair. Not too bad. I felt those blows, particularly the final one. Unfortunately for you, though, taijutsu is not my specialty. Have you ever wondered why I possess 7 swords? He said as he took his swords out of their sheaths. Kurabi moved quickly to become vigilant while simultaneously wielding 7 swords. Now that Leaf Nin would know who his enemy was, the Cloud delegation laughed. The veteran Suna and Cloud ninjas paled at the sight of those weapons with tags, which reminded them of the yellow flash of Konoha. Arashi took the pair of three-pronged kunais that he used for head-to-head combat. In order to give the kunai on his right the form and reach of a long sword and the kunai on his left the reach of a dagger, Arashi directed wind chakra into them. That's wind chakra, damn it. Kurabi reasoned that directing light through my blades would not be advantageous. Will you require assistance? A voice in his head inquired. Kurabi answered, not yet, I want to see how good is this guy with his toys. Arashi was only able to avoid him at the last second before Kurabi rolled towards him, slicing everything in his path with his blades, then spun on himself like a top, transforming into a hurricane of blades. Kurabi's sword fragments fell to the ground as a result of Arashi's swift attacks. However, Arashi was not able to escape unscathed. Kurabi's attacks left him with some small cuts on his arms. Tenten gazed at them with awe. She had never anticipated witnessing such a demonstration of weaponry proficiency. Arashi leapt to his feet and paused in midair, reducing the length of his weapons to their standard length and sharpening them solely with the wind chakra. Those outside of Konoha were impressed by Arashi, and the Suna ninjas, particularly their leader, were envious. It's true that he can fly, then. I have to know his secret. As the Kazekage, I should have that authority, I thought. The Sasukes all sneezed simultaneously in different alternate realities for no apparent reason. Hey, you, come on down here and let me face your blades, Kurabi cried. My blades are yours? All right, Arashi said as he tossed the wind chakra charged kunais to Kurabi. The kunais made 2 holes in the ground where they vanished after Kurabi dodged them at the last second. He is now disarmed. And now what will he do? The Raikage thought. The kunais he had previously thrown materialized with a tiny puff of smoke on his hands as Arashi made 2 one-handed signs. He must be able to call forth the kunais through the handle's tags. The Kazekage reasoned, so it is true that he is also a seal master. Arashi gave the kunais the ability to wield short swords by concentrating wind chakra in them. As Arashi prepared a technique that Naruto had suggested, he taunted him, saying, I bet that you won't resist what I'm going to do next. Arashi abruptly sped toward Kurabi, spinning on himself while holding his blades above his head, clearly intending to use them to drill his opponent. Hey, the Gatsuga comes to mind, Kiba thought. Aerial drill. Arashi yelled. Avoid it, the Raikage cried. Kurabi, however, accepted Arashi's defiance and attempted to block the attack simultaneously with all of his blades. After the dust settled, they witnessed Arashi stab Kurabi in the shoulder with one of his kunais, and Kurabi's swords were in the ground, completely destroyed by the ferocity of Arashi's attack. The battle was vicious, raising a lot of sand and dust due to the spinning effect. I have to admit that you are more skilled with weapons than I am. I wouldn't have any chance if I didn't have the wind chakra's advantage. As he carefully withdrew his weapon from Kurabi's wound, Arashi said, You are wounded, please give up, the match is over. Unexpectedly, Kurabi burst out laughing. I have to admit that you are the most formidable opponent I have faced since my brother. It's been a long time since I enjoyed a fight like this. However, the battle is far from over. The brother of the Raikage said, I'll now demonstrate to you a portion of my actual strength. I didn't think you would use it. I believe I would have to step in before things get out of control, the Raikage thought. Kurabi was surrounded by a strong chakra that grew larger and more aggressive than anyone could have imagined. Kurabi was hoped to maintain control by the Cloud Nins. The last time Gaara slept, Suna the Nins experienced a chakra like that. The night of the Kyuubi attack was the last time Konoha ninjas experienced a chakra like that. It's not possible. He is, Arashi thought, unable to complete the sentence. Kushina brought to mind the moment in their original timeline when Naruto used the power of the Biju that was sealed within him. A Jinchuriki, she concluded. When the smoke cleared and Gaara was revealed to have an even more psychopathic face and half of his body covered in a hideous sand armor that gave him a monstrous appearance, her words were validated. The students of Konoha started to fear for their lives. The first to respond was Kankuro, who opened his other 2 puppets to join Karasu, Crow, before the middle sand sibling. Kuroari, Black Ant, and Sanshuo, Salamander, showed up prepared to protect his master and allies. So, it is true that he can handle more than 2 at the same time, Shino reflected. Tamari shouted, Everyone, use only range attacks, don't get near him or he will crush you, as she hurled a tornado in Gaara's direction. The tornado was destroyed by Gaara's avalanche of sand in retaliation. Range attacks. Fine. Neji contemplated. Hisashi, the Hyuga prodigy cried. The sand shield was punctured by Neji's attack, but it responded promptly. Gaara took a few steps back when the chakra ray struck his chest. Yes, it did work, Neji thought with pride. Although Gaara's chest had some cracks, they could not see that the attack had any effect on him. It's his sand armor. Tamari responded. Although his sand shield couldn't surpass your technique, it managed to weaken it enough to let the sand armor protect Gaara efficiently. As the others regrouped behind Sanshuo's shield, Gaara was attacked by Kankuro's puppets, Naruto's clones, Sai's drawings, Shino's bugs, and Sasuke's Kaden clones. Shikamaru addressed the busy blonde, saying, "Shit. We need something with more offensive power to damage him. Naruto, how are things with the tags?" Naruto handed the tags to his friends and said, "Done, quickly, take them and attach them in your kunais, but please don't aim at the vital areas." Kankuro remarked, "You made explosive tags? That's amazing." Naruto exclaimed, "Just use them, they are not explosive." They tossed the kunais after nodding. The tags blew sparks just in the middle of the trajectory, and the kunais were impulsively sent at Gaara at blinding speed with a sharp sound. The majority of kunais struck Gaara after the sand shield was overpowered. Some of them managed to pierce the sand armor by striking the human half, as evidenced by the tiny blood drops where the kunais were embedded, but those who struck his monstrous half were left there without arming Gaara. Incredible. Those tags augment the speed of the kunais, increasing their power exponentially. Even with my Sharingan I had problems following them, said Sasuke. The attempt on Naruto's life several months ago gave him the inspiration to make those tags. While one of his father's clones watched, prepared to step in if things got out of hand, he battled some missing nins. In order to impress his father, Naruto made and used an explosive tag on the field. Unfortunately, the tag malfunctioned, causing the explosion to be released in only one direction rather than all directions. This caused the kunai to accelerate uncontrollably at supersonic speed, destroying the Arashi clone that was with him. Naruto took his apprenticeship in the art of sealing very seriously after that incident, using more clones to complete the task. He understood that by using the incorrect one as the base, he could create a new kind of offensive seal. All he needed to do was make sure the explosive force was released in a straight line. He was able to bring his idea to life after weeks of clone experiments. When he showed him the new seal, his father showered him with congratulations and gave him all the ramen he could eat that day. Tucci then went on to purchase a new television. "Did your father teach that?" inquired Hinata, who was impressed. Naruto smiled silly and said, "No, they are my original creation, he. "What? No way. I know that you learned a lot from your father, but to the point to create by yourself something like that," Sasuke replied. Neji saw Naruto's facial features and interrupted, "He is saying the truth. This new seal is a formidable weapon. Danzo-sama would give his arm to just to have the secret of the seal in his hands. But then he wouldn't have hands to have the secret," Sai thought. A wave of sand attacked them before they could continue discussing the seal, and Haku just managed to stop it with an ice barrier. "It took me more chakra than I expected. This is not the best environment for an ice user like me, believed. Focus. We didn't win yet. It looks that we are going to need anything more than pain to free him from the genjutsu. Because he is not aware of what he is doing. He can't free himself, stopping his chakra flow. The only way left to free him is introducing foreign chakra into his body," stated Shikamaru. "If Neji Nisan and me manage to approach him, we could use our Juken to infuse him chakra," Hinata said. "No, it's too risky. We don't know if your attacks would be able to surpass his sand armor," Shino replied. Now completely covered in sand, Gaara roared as she charged at them. They narrowly avoided his attempt to smash them with a massive sand claw. When an army of clones attempted to seize Gaara, Naruto threw them at him. The Hyugas saw that the clones had explosive tags on their backs. Gaara created a cocoon of sand just before the clones got to him. They saw that the cocoon was destroyed, but Gaara was totally unarmed when the smoke cloud from the rapid explosion of the tags in the kamikaze clones dissipated. "Those were my last tags," said Naruto. "If only I could get near him. Wait, I got it. Listen, guys, I need you to distract him as much as you can while I approach him unnoticed. Can you do it?" stated. "I'll do my best, Naruto-kun." "Fine. Okay, MMMPFH, what do you have in mind?" As the crystallized sand attested, everyone started attacking Gaara with ranged attacks once more, with Temari's wind attacks being the most successful. Sasuke used his Kaden jutsus to ignite them, Damn it. If we weren't in the desert he wouldn't have an unlimited supply to refill the sand that we dispel, Temari mused. Gaara was about to strike them when Choji attacked him from the side. Choji used his multi-size no jutsu to make his hands bigger and longer, and he then started punching Gaara. Haku let out a stream of water from his mouth as he exclaimed, "Sweeten. Bakusu Shoha, water release, exploding water shockwave." Gaara was soaked by the water, which also slowed his movement and produced some puddles that Hinata could attack. The girl cried out, "Sweeten. Teppodama, water release, gunshot," and transformed the puddles into water bullets that began attacking Gaara. As Sasuke used his final kunais to attack Gaara, he thought, even Choji and Hinata became stronger. Unfortunately for Kankuro, Shino's bugs and his puppet's weapons weren't much use against Gaara in that state. Sai yelled, "Fatso! Get out of the way!" Choji was removed from the battlefield by Shikamaru's shadow before he could object or harm Sai in any way. A herd of ink bulls that Sai had made startled Gaara with a stampede. Before one of them ducked the blow and leapt in his direction, Gaara annihilated them with his sand attacks. In the drawing, Naruto was wearing a henge. As he leapt at Gaara, he regained his true form, and his friends saw the blue orb forming in his hand. He slammed the sphere into Gaara's stomach and yelled, "Gaara, forgive me, Rasengan." A furrow was left in the sand as the Suna Jinchuriki was sent spinning several meters backwards. Neji thought, "It's the attack that can turn the Kaden against us." Hinata thought, "En Naruto-kun, you're amazing." As Naruto dashed in the direction of Gaara's knocked-down form, they saw that the Kazekage's youngest son was visible through the disintegrating monster-like armor. Naruto said, Gaara, are you all right?" with concern. Gaara's bloodlust look vanished as he opened his eyes and turned to face Naruto. Good idea. Combining pain with foreign chakra, Naruto managed to break the genjutsu on Gaara. If it was not for the protection that the armor of the hybrid form, Naruto could have killed Gaara, but that's not the case, Shino thought. Gaara rambled, "En Naruto, quickly, kill me." Naruto said, "What are you saying?" The redhead said, "I'm losing consciousness. I don't want to kill you." Naruto gazed at his friend in confusion, but he remained silent. Naruto yelled, Gaara, just before Karasu grabbed him from behind and pushed him away from Gaara. "Kankuro, what are you doing?" the catboy was asked. "We must flee from here. Gaara's seal is very unstable, he must keep awake all time to keep his demon at bay. We must be away from here until Gaara awakes," Kankuro declared. The way the sand swirled around Gaara's unconscious form horrified the Konoha students. Temari and Kankuro were frightened because they had never anticipated seeing the creature that had previously taken shape again. Haku unsuccessfully attempted to freeze it from a different angle after Sasuke used a Kaden jutsu in the mass of sand. Neji, Naruto, and Hinata employed the Hizashi in the meantime, but their attacks only created holes that instantly closed. Temari approached Naruto. "Physical damage won't work. The only way to win is to awake Gaara as your future self did," she replied. Looking anxiously at the enormous claws that were forming, Naruto questioned, "How did I awake Gaara that time?" "Well, you summoned that gigantic toad and..." "Oh, crap," Naruto muttered. Temari inquired, "What's going on? Is there a problem?" Naruto's expression was a mix of amusement and concern. "Yes, I can't summon toads yet," replied. The amount of sand increased until it was equal to the size of the city walls. Below Gaara, they observed the formation of a tanuki head and arms with claws. The children watched in awe and horror as one of the Bijus, Shukaku the one-tailed demon, was released back into the world and the sand eyes turned yellow. The animal let out a triumphant roar. "That's Shukaku." Everyone's perspiration stopped. Unable to finish the sentence, Arashi thought, "It can't be. He is." Kushina brought to mind the moment in their original timeline when Naruto used the power of the Biju that was sealed within him. She concluded, "A Jinchuriki." Arashi glanced at Kurabi's chakra, which was now visible and resembled a humanoid bull with two octopus tentacles for tails. "I wonder what Biju is sealed in him." According to Hashirama, Cloud received the Nibi and the Hachibi. "That thing doesn't look like a cat, so I suppose that we are facing the Hachibi," Minato was thinking. Kushina cautioned, "Be careful. We don't know what degree of control he has over it. It will be a good match. I never expected to find another Jinchuriki. We must warn him about Akatsuki as soon as we finish our combat. He can be an invaluable ally," thought Arashi while wearing a mask. Compared to Arashi, Those from Suna and Konoha didn't appear as assured. They became alert as soon as they saw Kurabi's chakra. In recognition of Kurabi's character, the Hokage rambled, "What? It can't be. Raikage, your brother is." "Yes, my little brother has a Biju sealed inside him, the Hachibi. I'm very sorry, but you should tell your soldier to give up if he wants to survive. In that state Kurabi hardly holds back his attacks," said the Raikage. The Kazekage appeared somewhat taken aback, but the Hokage remained silent. "That buffoon has a beast stronger than Shukaku. How can he control it? And why the Hokage and Arashi are not disturbed by this news?" The masked blonde is smiling under his mask. "Believed?" The Hokage grinned at his counterpart in Cloud. "Oh, you shouldn't worry about Arashi. He survived against the Kyuubi years ago and now he is stronger than ever. A weaker Biju that is contained shouldn't be a problem for him," the old man replied. Kurabi lunged at Arashi, but the blonde sidestepped him and hit him with a Hizashi. Arashi avoided it, seemingly unsurprised, but the Afro Jinchuriki growled and countered with a punch that extended his chakra arm, dispelling the chakra ray. Kushina and her husband recollected fights in which Naruto used the fox's power, such as his battle against Orochimaru following the time skip. Minato detested what he did to his son, but he watched them frequently after Naruto killed the missing nins. He needed to know how to fight Naruto because it was his responsibility and his alone to stop him without hurting him if he went out of control again. The blonde exclaimed, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," as a few clones seemed to assist him. Kurabi's chakra cloak shielded him from the clones' attacks, which involved them hurling kunais with explosive tags attached. A series of explosions could be heard hundreds of meters away. The Suna ninjas held the opinion that that's superior to Gaara's sand armor. Kurabi answered, "Have you finished, Blondie? Now's my turn." He reached Arashi's side with unexpected speed and retaliated with a punch that sent 10 meters back. Arashi dissolved in a smoke cloud. Kurabi remarked as he observed the other clones, I thought that he was the real one." The Kages thought the same things as the onlookers. "If that clone didn't switch with me on the last second, Kurabi would have broken my neck," Arashi reflected. "Yes. It was a strike of luck that we discovered that the enhanced Kawarimi takes less chakra when you use it with your own clones or when they use it with you," said Kushina. "Agree with that, but still takes too much chakra to use it with the frequency I would desire. However, your idea to make the clones protect the real me with the jutsu is fantastic, Kushi-chan," replied Minato. She laughed and said, "Don't call me that while we are fighting." Before they could respond, Kurabi developed a third tail and launched a faster attack on Arashi and his clones. By lengthening his limbs and using the tails as extra weapons, he was able to eliminate every clone until only the original Arashi remained. He attempted to impale Kurabi with his wind blades, but Arashi's weapon was repelled by the chakra cloak, which was now stronger. Kurabi sent Arashi dozens of meters backwards with a chakra-enhanced punch to the gut. Kurabi struck a winning pose with the tails swinging in an absurd manner, but the blonde remained motionless. That will show him to not mess with the man, baby," declared. Arashi got up and put a hand on his stomach, saying, "I'm not defeated yet. I feel like I was impaled with a sword in flames. How can he endure being enveloped by that chakra? He should be screaming from the pain, but he seems to have complete control over his Biju." "That's impossible," said Minato. Kushina proposed, "We should ask him after the battle. Share the pain with me." "No, I won't let you suffer because my recklessness. Don't worry, this won't last long," he replied. Kushina remained silent. They discovered that she and Minato could share his feelings, including pain, following the meal with the Hyugas. Additionally, he could allow Kushina to partially control his body, but they chose not to employ that ability in battle just yet. A part of her embraced Minato's attitude because it made her feel loved, while another part of her disliked his desire to shield her from his suffering. Arashi struck a defiant pose as he gazed at Kurabi. "Okay. I'll show you one of my best techniques. First gate. Open," shouted. Everyone could feel Arashi's chakra spike. Kurabi grinned, and the excitement was growing. As Arashi opened the second gate, Guy yelled, My youthful second rival will use the gates against my new friend. It will be a match that we will remember forever." At the third gate's entrance, Kiba thought, "I forgot that Naruto's dad could use that technique. By the way, where is him? He would love to see his father fight like this." At the same time, Ino, Sakura, and Tenten thought, "Yay, his jacket opened completely. He is showing his torso again. Wait, I shouldn't have this thoughts about Naruto's father." As the fourth gate opened, Kurabi and Arashi lunged at one another and started to strike, at least from Arashi's side. Because of his speed, the blonde was able to avoid all of Kurabi's blows, and his attacks were more accurate than Kurabi's. On the downside, Arashi's opponent appeared unaffected by his attacks and could defeat him with just 2 blows. While the real one diverted Kurabi's attention, Arashi conjured up a gang of clones that succeeded in striking him from behind and propelling him upward. The clones then launched themselves at Kurabi, striking him in midair and ensuring he never touched the ground again. Arashi handed his younger brother to the Raikage, who watched. Good strategy, although my brother is stronger than him, he can't fly. As long as Arashi manages to keep Kurabi in the air, he will have the advantage. It could work with any opponent, even a cage, but this won't work against an opponent that you can't harm. Wait, the original one left the attack, closed the gates and summoned more clones. What does he have in mind? The leader of the clouds. After giving his new clones some tags, the original Arashi had them write something on them. Then he opened his cloak and pulled out a scroll. The intricate seal that was written on the scroll was nothing like those found on storage scrolls. I brought this just in case I had to face Gaara. I never thought I would have to use it against the cloud version of Guy. I didn't want to show it, but my most lethal techniques would kill him. Believed. Don't worry about that. Techniques must be used when needed. Risking your life because you don't want to show them is foolish, Kushina replied. Kurabi, meanwhile, developed a 4th tail. With his newfound support, he attacked and destroyed the clones attacking him after successfully planting 2 of them in the ground. Arashi focused his chakra on the seal and said, "You are very powerful, but you have no chance against Fuinjutsu, one of my clan's specialties," without taking his eyes off the scroll. "What are you going to do? You can't seal my partner because he is already sealed in me," said Kurabi. Kushina thought, maybe this is his secret, that he sees his Biju as a comrade. Everyone eagerly anticipated seeing what Arashi would do. Not being foolish, Kurabi attacked Arashi before he could complete his task, but it was too late. The Uzumaki clan's head turned to face him. Fuin Jutsu not only works to seal things, it can be used to transform chakra. Mokuton Hajutsu. Jukai Koden. Wood release secret technique. Birth of dense woodland, shouted. With a tremendous clamor, a large tree with branches wrapped around Kurabi and his tails immobilized him as it emerged from the scroll. He attempted, but failed, to break the branches. Now that he was fully immobilized, Arashi's clones charged at him and covered Kurabi's entire body with the suppression seals they were working on in the meantime. As soon as they touched Kurabi, the seal was activated, causing Kurabi's body to lose the Hachibi's features and chakra. Breathing heavily, Arashi gazed at the scroll, which was now devoid of the seal. It worked. Bijus have difficulty breaking trees created by wood chakra. If it was not for that fact, I couldn't have placed the suppression seals. Believed. He approached Kurabi and took off the seal he was wearing on his lips. "Do you surrender?" was the question. The Jinchuriki cried out, "Arg! You censored, that hurt." Arashi said, Sorry, do you surrender?" in a courteous manner. Kurabi yelled, "All right, you win, now get me out of here." "Great. Why don't we go to have some drinks to make amends?" "My treat," Arashi replied. Everyone was stunned, even the Hokage. What sort of ninjas do they have in Konoha? "I thought that the Mokuton disappeared with the first Hokage," said the Kazekage. It was one of Hashirama's techniques. Minato mentioned chakra transformation. "I never imagined that Fuinjutsu could be used for that," Sarutobi thought. "He defeated my little brother suppressing the Hachibi. We must include this man in the bingo book as soon as we come back home," said the Raikage. It was the opinion of Naruto's classmates that Naruto's dad is really powerful, no wonder why he turned so strong. The majority of ninjas observed an oddity. Why, with the Hachibi suppressed, were they still experiencing demon's chakra? People from Suna recognized the chakra source, and they saw that it was on the opposite side of the village. "Shukaku is free," one of them cried. Feeling uneasy, Arashi moved to the opposite side of the village, where the majority of the ninjas also went. Kurabi yelled, "Hey, don't let me trapped here." Using Naruto, the sight of one of the Bijus released paralyzed the Sand siblings and Konoha students. Sasuke thought, Naruto must have one of those things inside him. Haku thought, damn, I'm low of chakra. Hinata thought, even Naruto is shaking. Naruto roared, bastard, free Gaara, as he charged at Shukaku, his eyes turning red with slitted pupils. I can say that it ended with Shukaku temporarily incapacitated because what followed was so violent and bizarre that it was censored by the parental associations, the same ones that removed some of the anime's scenes in Western countries. The children regained their courage after witnessing Naruto's stunt, and they used Shukaku's lack of time to devise a plan. Temari stated, "Gaara must be awakened, it will eliminate Shukaku." Naruto swallowed a soldier pill and said, "I have a technique that can help, but I'll need help to reach Gaara and someone will have to distract the monster." Shikamaru said, "Okay, I just came up with a plan that might work." Following a few brief explanations, they split up and launched separate attacks on Shukaku. After recovering from Naruto's blow, Shukaku scowled at the insects that had the audacity to harm him. It roared, "I'm going to kill you," with the Hyuga's brilliant attack using the Hisashi and waves of sand that came too close. Neji, Shikamaru, and Choji diverted the attention of the Tanuki in front of them. With the Hyuga girl reusing the water Haku had made for his jutsus, Hinata and Haku attacked Shukaku's tail. They were fortunate that the climate was still fresh from the night and that it was only a few minutes after dawn, making it simpler to use Suiden jutsus. Using Sasuke's Kaiden jutsus to ignite them and Temari's long-range attacks, the two of them attacked Shukaku's eyes. While Shino and another group of Naruto's clones concentrated on Shukaku's left arm, Kankuro and a group of Naruto's clones concentrated on his right. "I'll have to use them. I didn't have time to make the final tests, but this is the perfect chance to prove my new inventions," said Kankuro. With his scroll in hand, he opened two fresh puppets. One resembled a vulture, the other a jackal. Kankuro was now managing 5 puppets simultaneously with the other 3. He smirked back when he saw that Shino was staring at him in surprise. "My new puppets have their own abilities, but they would be useless against Shukaku. There's also the problem that handling various puppets at the same time derives into worse control and less performance for each one, but I conceived the perfect solution for that," Kankuro stated. All of Kankuro's puppets disassembled and reassembled into a single, enormous humanoid puppet that resembled a combination of the others in a spectacular process. Then, using a large sword that was most likely a component of one of the new puppets, Kankuro's superpet attacked Shukaku's claw and succeeded in severing one of Shukaku's fingers. A Naruto clone was captivated by the statement, "It looks like those robots from the TV shows." Looking at Shino, the puppeteer thought, "Surpass that." Shino appeared to have heard Kankuro's challenge because he simultaneously released all of his bugs, covering his entire body. As he made some hand gestures, the Aburame thought, "It's time to use my secret technique, the one I created after seeing Kiba fusing with Akamaru to turn into a 2-headed dog." They shouted, "Aburame's secret art, insect battle armor." When the smoke cloud dissipated, Shino was completely covered in battle armor that appeared to be made of insect shells. The legs were aerodynamic, and the arms had chitin claws. "This armor enhances my strength, speed, senses and gives a very good protection. It also has some special abilities that will be very useful in the battle," stated Shino. The Aburame then advanced quickly in Shukaku's direction, easily avoiding the Tanuki's blows before making a spectacular leap and severing another Shukaku finger with his armor's claws. And now Shino looks like one of those superheroes from TV shows who fight monsters who really are guys in rubber outfits, thought Naruto's clones. Shino thought, "You are not the only one with new tricks," as he glanced at Kankuro before attacking again. Then, as the Naruto clones stared in wonder, the competitors launched an effective attack on Shukaku's arms. Everyone launched a fresh attack after the final performance. Temari called forth a gang of Kama Itachis, or scythe-wielding weasels, who attacked Shukaku's eyes, with Sasuke retaliating with more fire. With Haku now transforming Hinata's water bullets into ice projectiles, the two continued to focus in Shukaku's tail. The Tanuki's belly now resembled a strainer as Neji continued to use his father's attack in Shukaku at the front, but the monster reacted by forming a sand claw that seized Shikamaru. To everyone's surprise, Choji then grew to a height of 6 meters and attacked Shukaku's hand, destroying it and releasing Shikamaru. At his friend's feet, Nara saw the notorious box of colored pills. Half of the yellow and none of the green ones were there. This explains why he managed to fight so hard previously. "I can't let him consume any more," said Shikamaru. For a brief moment, though, his focus was on the groups of Naruto's clones helping Kankuro and Shino. While one of the clones was holding a kunai, another was creating a blue orb at the tip of the kunai. The Nara thought, "What? Is it what it appears to be?" It was, indeed. As the clone completed forming a flawless Rasengan in the tip of the kunai, it turned to face Shukaku. He shouted, "Feel, my new technique, kunai Rasengan," as he tossed the kunai to Shukaku along with the Rasengan. Shukaku's right hand was struck and destroyed by the kunai. The same thing happened to the other clones and the monster's left hand. Shikamaru smirked and thought, "No matter what timeline we are in, Naruto, you continue to be the most amazing ninja I ever saw. You'll pay for that, bastards," the monster cried. Shukaku felt an odd force that resisted his attempts to rebuild himself using the sand of the desert. A voice said, "I won't let you hurt them." Gaara was the one. The boy was attempting to suppress the demon while in a state of semi-consciousness, which allowed the other children to attack. The monster screamed angrily, "Stupid boy! Don't dare oppose me and let me kill them." The real Naruto and Sai, who were riding one of Sai's ink birds over the battlefield, noticed that in the meantime. As he completed the technique he had been practicing while the others fought, Naruto thought, "Gaara is fighting against the monster too. I can't fail with this." "It's done. Sai, place me the closest possible from Gaara," shouted. "Naruto, be careful, Roger," Sai said. With his palm open and a few odd symbols at the tips of his fingers, Naruto leapt to the nearly vigilant Gaara. He slammed his hand in Gaara's stomach, tampering with his chakra, and said, "Gaara, I'm sorry, but this will hurt. Fuin Jutsu, Gogyu Fuin, 5 Elements Seal." When Shukaku realized that his connection to Gaara was severed, he cried out, "What? No," and started to dissolve in the sand he had been made of. Before his face vanished in the sand, Shukaku was able to deliver a final blow to Sai's bird as he attempted to capture Naruto and Gaara. Due to the root spy's delayed reaction, the bird was destroyed by an ink explosion, which caused his riders to fall to the ground. However, Naruto, Gaara, and Sai were caught in the middle of their fall by 2 blurs. Sai saw that Shino, whose insect armor also appeared to have a pair of functional wings beneath the scarab shell in the back, was grabbing him. Kankuro's puppets captured Naruto and Gaara while they were flying on the vulture's wings. The others hurried to Shino and the puppet after they made a safe landing because they didn't think they had defeated Shukaku. When Naruto realized how much chakra he had used, he thought, "Since my father returned, it seems like everyone is learning to fly. We defeated a Biju, it's incredible. Man, I'm so tired, but Gaara is safe." His father and other ninjas were running toward him when he last saw them before he passed out. Arashi and the others sensed the enormous mass of chakra as they made their way to the opposite side of Suna. "This is no good. Where's Naruto? The memories of the clone I sent to the hotel said that he is not there," Arashi mused. Kushina tried to believe her own statement when she said, "Ichi must be looking for a good place to eat ramen, he will be all right." "I hope so," Arashi answered. Unfortunately, when they eventually reached their destiny, their illusions turned out to be false. In addition to being one of her favorite and worst memories of Naruto from that era, Kushina recognized the creature that Naruto had battled during Orochimaru's invasion. The monster that was going to be Suna's secret weapon during the invasion was superior to everything Naruto had faced before that battle, but she was still terrified when Mizuki attempted to kill him and when he faced Zabuza and Orochimaru. But her son overcame his fear and battled Gaara with a bravery and skill she had never witnessed before, especially when he summoned Gamabunta and, in spite of all the odds, defeated it, waking Gaara. She knew that Naruto would live until he fulfilled his dream, so she wasn't afraid for his life after that battle. In the outskirts of Suna, a similar scene was now taking place. They were able to witness Naruto leaping from Sai's bird and slamming his fingers into Gaara's stomach before Shukaku's dissolution into the sand destroyed Sai's bird. They were fortunate to have been rescued by an odd puppet and a boy who appeared to be wearing armor resembling an insect. Arashi hurried over to the children. He saw how exhausted they appeared, and they undoubtedly joined the fight as well, but his entire attention was on his son. "Naruto, are you all right? What happened?" replied. The boy in the armor said, "He just overused his chakra, but he's fine." "Shino?" inquired Arashi in an odd tone. With a nod, the Aburame's armor transformed into a swarm of insects that vanished into his coat. "I almost forgot that Shino was about to take the Jonin test when we were sent to this time. I shouldn't be impressed for him having a technique like this, but I am. Perhaps I could convince him to do some special missions in my place now that he can fly," thought the former Kage. The Hokage said, "Can anybody explain us what happened here?" The Raikage said, "Yes, we would like to know that. What's that thing, a Biju?" "It's a long story," But first we should go to the hospital. Naruto is not the only who needs medical attention, Shikamaru replied. Sasuke, Choji, Haku, and Hinata were all struggling to stay upright, especially Akamichi, who was now experiencing the side effects of the medications he had taken before the battle. Before Hinata fell to the ground, Hiashi grabbed her. The worried thought was, she used a lot of chakra, I never saw her in this shape. What happened here? He had to maintain the appearance of being a branch member worried about his mistress rather than a worried father because the Raikage and his bodyguards were present. Without waiting for the others, Shuza took his son to the hospital right away after realizing the effects of the pills. Sakura and Ino nearly tackled Sasuke as Lee carried Haku on his shoulders to the hospital. The girls said, Sasuke-kun, are you alright? The boy said, MMPH, I'm fine, just a bit tired, and then he passed out in Sakura's arms. Inner Sakura cried out, take this, Ino pig. Sasuke hugging me. While the real one blushed like Hinata in Naruto's presence. The majority of Suna ninjas saw Gaara's poor condition and saw it as an opportunity to get rid of him. However, his siblings forced them to reconsider. As Kankuro disassembled his enormous puppet into its 5-component puppets, Tamari and her summons positioned themselves between them and Gaara. What? When did they got that power? Tamari shouldn't be able to summon any weasel able to fight yet and less too many. Most Jonins are unable to do it. And Kankuro can control 5 puppets at the same time. And where did he got the jackal and the vulture? The Kazekage as they looked at their kids. Tamari exchanged glances with her father and the other ninjas before following her brothers as Kankuro carried Gaara on his shoulders and made his way to the hospital. The Kazekage thought, what intrigues me more is why they are protecting Gaara, I should keep an eye on them. He looked at Arashi, who had Naruto in his arms and was on his way to the hospital. I'll keep an eye too in the Uzumakis. I expected that the Black Angel and Konoha would seek retribution for his son's death at Gaara's hands. That would have given me an excuse to get rid of Gaara, handing him to Master Sasori to extract Shukaku without questions from the council. Then I would have give Gaara's corpse to Arashi, said the Kazekage. He turned to face the Konoha pupils. Who would have thought that the Uzumaki kid and his friends could defeat Shukaku? Tamari and Kankuro intervened in the battle too. Perhaps I could take advantage of this, the Kazekage believed. In an effort to avoid drawing too much attention, the Raikage and the bodyguards trailed behind. The boy in Arashi's arms caught the cloud leader's attention as he observed the Konoha pupils. Yes, the boy is his son, there's no doubt about it. As his father, he also defeated a Jinchuriki who was using the power of his Biju. True, he didn't do it alone, he had his friends and the Kazecage's children, but it was obvious that he was crucial in the battle, thought the leader of the clouds. The Hyuga boy's gaze on him caught his attention. I forgot about the disaster that my predecessor organized years ago with the Hyugas, their leader, Hiashi, killed the man who was trying to kidnap his daughter and he had to sacrifice himself to prevent a war. This among others was one of the reasons because nobody cried when I killed the former Raikage and took his seat. With Hiashi's brother here, this is perfect time to start my plan concerning the Hyugas, reflected. When they got to the hospital, the receptionist appeared surprised to learn that the demon boy, Gaara, required medical attention. Her survival instincts and the Sand siblings' glances warned her not to break Gaara's confession. Only minor cases of chakra exhaustion and a few bruises were sustained by Naruto, Hinata, Haku, and Sasuke. These would go away with rest. Although Choji's life was not in danger, he would have to spend 2 weeks under observation while eating a diet high in proteins, as something he would undoubtedly enjoy when he woke up because his condition had gotten worse due to the 1.5 pills he had taken during the battles. According to the medics, Gaara suffered multiple wounds from kunais, making him the most injured of all. Even stranger to them, though, were the internal wounds and abrasions that had not been seen since the last ninja war, when a young ninja who would later be known as the Yellow Flash used a chakra sphere to wreak havoc on Konoha's adversaries. The medics also mentioned how the seal covering Gaara's shielded them from the Sand Shield's attacks. The adults waited for a response while observing the conscious children. Having the best memory and analytical skills could be a burden at times, Shikamaru sighed. How troublesome. All started yesterday when we found Naruto talking with Gaara, stated. The adults were informed by the Nara when they witnessed Naruto conversing with Gaara and extending an offer of friendship, omitting the part in which Naruto revealed to Gaara that he was also a Jinchuriki. Then came the moment they discovered Gaara attempting to murder Naruto and discovered he was using Genjutsu. The Raikage and the Kazekage thought Naruto's special tags were fascinating and asked Arashi if he made them. Shikamaru went into great detail about the battle, detailing what each character did. No, they are not. The speed-increasing tags are an original idea of Naruto and he created them himself, Arashi proudly replied. Shikamaru went on to tell how Naruto freed Gaara from the genjutsu, but they had to battle Shukaku after that. Following the humorous scene in which Naruto nearly neutered Shukaku, Shikamaru explained the strategy they employed to seal the Tanuki once more in Gaara, while the others provided more specifics about the conflict. In particular, Hisaishi's Hiashi confirmation that Shikamaru and the others were telling the truth left everyone stunned when he finished. There was no reason not to believe them because they witnessed the battle's conclusion anyhow. The Raikage remarked in amazement, "Su." A group of kids, most of them still academy students, managed to defeat a Biju. The Hokage grinned and thought, this generation will be the strongest ever seen in Konoha. With tears in his eyes, Lee lamented, why had to lose this wonderful and youthful battle? Both Kiba and Tenten thought that they would have given it their all in the battle, even though they were unsure of what they would have done. After expressing gratitude for missing the battle, Ino and Sakura felt embarrassed and vowed to have the same level of bravery as their friends. Although the Kazekage appeared composed, he was actually very angry. He should make sure to spread a version of the story where Tamari and Kankuro did the majority of the battle, omitting the parts with the Leaf Ninjas, because those annoying kids not only ruined his plans, but the rumors that a group of Konoha students defeated the Shukaku would boost Konoha's reputation among potential customers. But now that Gaara was awake, his biggest concern was that if the son admitted to putting him under genjutsu, he would find it difficult to persuade the Hokage that he had nothing to do with an attempt on the life of a Konoha resident. Hiashi was proud of his daughter because she used the water jutsus she had learned over the previous few months to bravely battle the Biju, overcoming the fear she clearly felt. It turned out to be a great idea to let her grow without any pressure. Shuza and Shikaku were also extremely proud of their sons. Shikamaru's ability to act like a professional ninja pleased Shikaku, but he was also a little intrigued. Maybe he should give him an IQ test. Shuza was proud of his son for protecting his friends, but he was also a little upset with him for taking the pills. Wait a minute. Did you say that Naruto formed a Rasengan in the tip of a kunai and then he threw it? Arashi was puzzled. Every child gave a nod. Naruto found a way to improve the Rasengan, turning it into a range attack. True, in the future he will do the same with the Rasen Shuriken, but doing it with a kunai is something that I can't guess. How he did it, said Minato. Just ask when he wake up. You should be happy for how he stood for Gaara yesterday, for his victory and the way his friends helped him in the fight, because I am, Kushina replied. Sorry, Kushi-chan. I am very proud of our son. I just regret not witnessing his fight and seeing the progress he made during last months. I should give him a reward, replied Minato. I have something perfect in mind, but you'll have until the end of the Chunin exams to give it, she replied. Gaara's room caught Minato's attention. Naruto just gave me the perfect excuse to take a look at Gaara's seal and fix it, believed. He looked at the sand nins. I think I should check Gaara's seal, to make sure that the seal that Naruto put on him works without any problem. That seal was put in the middle of a battle and we can't be sure that it will keep the Shukaku at bay, Arashi replied. The Kazekage was on the verge of declining, but his kids heard him. We'd be very grateful, Uzumaki-san. Your intervention will help to keep Suna safer, and if it helps our little brother to sleep, then much better, Tamari replied. Yes, my daughter is right, but you should make your check when Gaara is healed and awake. I'll make an investigation to find who's behind the genjutsu that affected Gaara. Who could have done it? There must somebody trying to interfere in the alliance between Konoha and Suna. The Kazekage replied. You are right, your son must be in the best shape possible for the check. Perhaps at the end of the exams Arashi will be able to see Gaara without risk, said the Hokage. Perfect. They took the bait, and because I'm the one who made the assumption of the political saboteur and had the idea of the investigation, nobody would suspect on me. I just got another idea to get rid of Gaara. I'll put it into action as soon as possible, the Kazekage believed. The Sand sibling gave their father a strange look. They should control him because he seemed overly worried about Gaara. Shino said, I have a question. The adults gave him a look. The Aburame boy reasoned, why didn't anyone come earlier? The chakra that was released during the battle should have warned everyone in Suna. The adults explained to them the story of Arashi and Karabi's battle and how the Cloud Jonin used his Biju's power to overwhelm their senses and prevent them from feeling the weaker Shukaku. 3 Jinchurikis in the same place. Perhaps we should tell Sand and Cloud about Naruto and try to form an alliance against the Akatsuki, said Shikamaru. They saw that the Raikage was a little uncomfortable. The Hokage said, is there something wrong, Raikage-san? As the cloud leader put it, it's nothing, I just feel that I forgot to do something. At Suna's outskirts in the meantime still imprisoned in Arashi's tree, an angry Karabi cried, "What the percent and dollar? Somebody set me free." When Naruto woke up, it was almost nighttime, and he was in a hospital room with his father as his only companion. Minato ruffled Naruto's hair and joked, "Hey son, you know, if you want to be Hokage you should try not to end your greatest battles in a hospital room." Naruto smiled and said, "Yeah, I overdid a little, but it was a great fight," until he realized something. Worriedly, "What happened with Gaara and the others?" "Gaara is fine, you managed to reseal Shukaku and now he is resting after the medics healed him. Before we leave Suna I'll remove the 5 elements seal you place and then I'll fix his seal," Minato said. More composedly, "How are Hinata-chan and the others?" was asked. "Hinata-chan is resting in the next room with her father looking after her. Choji has just been placed into another room after it was confirmed that his life was not endangered anymore, thanks to the drinkable version of our clan's secret medicine," stated Minato. His son whispered, "Are you talking about the one you told me weeks ago?" "Yeah, that one," Minato said. Retrograde. Naruto was led by Minato to a room in their home that resembled an apothecary's store. "What I'm going to show you today, Naruto, is our family's greatest secret. The Hokage doesn't know about it, and you'll understand why," Minato stated gravely. While Minato started combining some herbs in the mortar, Naruto gave his father a careful look. He asked his son, "You know that our blood limit has 2 powers, don't you?" "Yes. The first one is that we heal very fast and the second one is that our healing is total, without scar or sequels from the wounds," Naruto replied. Minato gave a nod. "Yes, but it has 2 other qualities that I didn't mention to anyone. The first one is an effect of the perfect healing. At the moment our bodies reach adulthood they stop aging until we are very old, our 70s or 80s. At that point our blood limit fades and we begin to age in an accelerate rate, until our bodies are as old as they should be. Our ancestors named that process as the twilight. Most of our familiars chose to seek for a heroic death on a mission and die when still in their prime instead of suffering the decay of old age," said Minato. Naruto couldn't speak. That means that you'll keep looking like this when you get 60 years old," murmured. Minato gave a nod. "Yes, but don't be afraid of it, we don't live longer than other people, we just have a very long youth. The reason because it must be kept in secret is very obvious, people would be too jealous of us," Minato replied. That didn't seem to excite Naruto much. "Does it mean that if mom lived she would get old while you keep young?" inquired with concern. That was the exact question Kushina had in mind when Minato told her that secret, and she smiled. When Minato revealed the other secret to her, as he was about to do with Naruto, her anxiety vanished. Minato used his head to dismiss Naruto's query. As he finished smashing the herbs, he said, "There is a solution for that problem, it is related to the other secret of our blood limit." Then Minato cut his hand and spilled the blood onto the herb mixture. "The secret power of our blood limit is that we can share it with others to a point. The healing powers are inside our own blood. If we apply our blood in someone else's wound, it will heal at the same rate as ours and without scars or other sequels. Even more, if our blood is applied on someone's wrinkles or scars, it will erase them and those who drink drops of our blood with some regularity won't age. With enough uses they will even rejuvenate," Minato went on to explain. As he struggled to process the information, Naruto went pale. Minato completed combining the herbs and blood. "Your great-grandmother had the idea of an ointment that would mask the scent of our blood so we could use it in our allies without revealing the secret, making everybody believe that it is just a family medicine," Minato said while showing Naruto the ointment. "It is the same medicine that you give Iruka-sensei for his training, isn't it?" Naruto responded. Minato gave a nod. "Yes, it is. This medicine is the reason why he is completely fine after his rough training sessions. I warned him to keep it away from his nose so it won't erase his scar and endanger our secret," Minato replied. Though he remained silent, Naruto expressed his happiness at being able to give his friends some of his power. Minato showed him a strange liquid in a bottle. "We also have a liquid version that can be drinked or injected for internal wounds. I'll tell you how to make it later. Naruto, you must keep this secrets only for yourself, that you can't say it to anybody nor your friends nor the Hokage. The only person you are allowed to tell this is your wife, after your wedding. The consequences if these secrets are exposed to the public would be disastrous," said Minato. "Why it is so important to keep it secret? It is not something to be ashamed of and people would find it very valuable," said Naruto. "That's the point. The council and the rest of the village would find us too valuable to risk our lives on mission while we could be producing a medicine as powerful as this, and we would be destined to drain ourselves. This if only they find out about the healing properties, said Minato. As his father went on to give his justifications, Naruto shuddered at the idea. If the wrinkle-removing properties are discovered, Fire Country's nobles would ask Konoha for a permanent contract using our blood as beauty cream to keep looking young. We would be ordered to work exclusively in that purpose. Forgot about your ninja career, Minato said. I don't want to work in aesthetic the rest of my life for a bunch of old hags, Naruto said. This is nothing if they find out about the rejuvenation properties. Many nations started wars because the ambition of their rulers. The daimyos and other nobles would find fine to go in a war against Konoha if the prize for victory is eternal youth, Minato said. With their blood, the snake Sanin would have immortality and not need to change bodies, retaining the most powerful one he could obtain, reminding Orochimaru of his dreams of immortality. We wouldn't feel ourselves safe anymore. The attempts to capture us would be our daily basis. The worst part is that many of people from our own country would be behind them. If we get captured, probably we would be the rest of our lives chained in a bed with a tube drains our blood to maintain our kidnappers while we receive forced feeding to replenish our blood, stated Minato. Kushina yelled, "You are going to scare him. He must be aware of the consequences if this secret is aired, Kushi-chan," said Minato. I understand. I would have loved to tell this to Hinata-chan and the others, but you are right. Okay, I won't tell this to anyone, Naruto replied. Minato proposed, "You can tell Hinata if you marry her." Dad! Naruto cried out. Finish the flashback. Naruto questioned, "What about the rest? Shino, Shikamaru, Tamari and Kankuro are fine. Remember that they are in reality experienced ninjas from the future." Sai came back to the is sharing a room with Haku, with Kakashi and Zabuza looking after them, said Minato. Kakashi and Zabuza are here. I thought they were in Konoha, Naruto replied. They were. The Hokage called the rest of the Hand of Death squad, so I teleported back to Konoha and brought them there. The Hokage told me that Bear was already in Suna under a disguise and Yamato is guarding this room's door, said Minato. Although Naruto was happy for his friends, he thought it odd that the Hokage had summoned his father's team. Why they are here? I understand that Kakashi and Zabuza came for Sasuke and Haku. I don't understand why the others came too. Replied, after we found out that somebody used a genjutsu in Gaara to kill you, the Hokage decided to bring the squad here and stay on guard if the enemy decides to strike again. I bet that it was an Akatsuki member. It is the best course of action, especially now that we found that there's a third Jinchuriki in Suna, said Minato. In an eager attempt to meet a new friend, Naruto exclaimed, a third Jinchuriki? Who is him? In order to explain why no one showed up for their battle against Gaara, Minato told Naruto about the night out with the other Konoha ninjas and the ensuing duel with Kurabi across the village. Naruto was awash with questions after Minato's completion. I knew that Fuin Jutsu was powerful, but not to the point to able to transform chakra. That means that you can use Mokuton like you had the bloodline, said Naruto. It is not as strange if we take account that your own seal transforms Kyuubi's into yours. However, 2/3 of the chakra I used in that attack was spent in the transformation of the chakra required to create the 3 transformations without the specific bloodline implied uses prohibitive amounts of chakra, and that's not the only drawback it has, said Minato. Asking, what are the others? Naruto said. First, each seal must be created for a specific jutsu and it will only perform that jutsu. Second, the seal disappears after it is used. And third, the seal are too complex to be made in the field. The chakra transformation is a powerful tool, but it doesn't have the efficiency and versatility of someone with the emulated bloodline, Minato stated. The former Kage's expression became more solemn as he gazed at his son. He attempted to say, but Naruto cut him off. Naruto, do you realize the feat that you and your friends did today? You managed to defeat a Biju? Last time I fought one I had to sacrifice myself in. But Dad, we defeated the weakest one and Gaara was holding it back. You had to fight something more powerful without nobody holding it back, Naruto replied. Perhaps, but it is still a battle that will be recalled for years. Now more eyes will be focused on us. My own battle didn't do anything to avoid that. By the way, I have a pair of questions about your battle, said Minato. Naruto said, what do you want to know, Dad? They heard a commotion outside before Minato could reply. The Kazekage has been abducted. The Kazekage has been abducted. As Arashi cried out, the Kazekage, I must check this. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In the hospital hallway, the clone encountered the other Hand of Death members. I'll go to check what happened. Yamato and Bear, go to guard the Hokage. Kakashi and Zabuza keep there to protect the kids. I suspect that this is one of our mysterious enemy's plans, stated. The nins in masks gave a nod. In order to meet the other Konoha ninjas, the clone went to the Kazecage's tower. What happened? Shukaku was asked. We are not sure about it, but it looks like a pair of men got into the tower, incapacitated the Kazekage and took him away, the Nara replied. Then Minato asked, how they looked like. Nobody could see their faces, they had straw hats covering their heads, they say that one was a hunchback and both of them were wearing cloaks with red clouds. Wait. Wasn't Itachi Uchiha dressed like that? Said Shukaku. The clone asked himself, Akatsuki, but why they kidnapped the Kazekage? The bodyguards, Bear and Yamato, allowed him to pass without question as he made his way to the location where the Hokage was signed. Hokage-sama, have you heard the news? Inquired. Yes, Arashi. Suna is in an uproar. You said that they were going to move in a few years, but it looks like that they decided to bring forward their plans, said the elderly gentleman. Obviously Mater is doing. They took advantage of the crowds that came to see the Chunin exams to infiltrate into the village. They must be the ones behind the genjutsu used over Garl, but it doesn't make sense. They want Naruto alive for the Kyuubi. Why try to kill him? Arashi was concerned. I don't know, I think that we should offer our help to Suna with the ninjas that obviously they will send to rescue the Kazekage. We have Sume and Kakashi here. They and their dogs are among the top trackers in the world. The Hokage replied. One of Konoha's Anbu arrived and bowed to each man after someone knocked on the door and the Hokage granted permission to enter. He shared his news after making sure no one was listening. Sandaime-sama, Yondaime-sama. I came here to communicate that Suna's council has decided to declare state of emergency after the Kazecage's kidnapping. All gates will be closed immediately. Nobody with the exception of the rescue team is allowed to leave Suna until the Kazekage is back alive or his death is confirmed. All foreigners are told to stay in their hotels if they don't want to be interrogated, the ninja stated. Shit, it's the same as the time they kidnapped Gaara in the future. Do they want to trade Gaara for the Kazekage? Are they going to blame it on Konoha or Cloud? The replica thought. Before dispelling himself, the clone said, I'll be in the hospital, tell me if something else happens. After receiving the clone's memories, the real Arashi informed Naruto of the situation. Dad, we have to look for Gaara, Naruto cried. After Arashi gave his nod, they made their way to Gaara's room, which was located on the hospital's last floor. They discovered Temari and Kankuro unconscious, and the room was deserted. Naruto questioned, what happened here? Where's Gaara? Retrograde Temari and Kankuro refused to leave their position watching over their younger brother's room even after learning of their father's disappearance from a nurse. They thought it was a plot to force them to abandon Gaara, who was now exposed due to the seal Naruto had applied to him. They saw Baki coming their way. Greetings, sensei. You are not trying to convince us to leave Gaara unprotected, don't you? We don't care about what happened to the Kazekage, our brother comes first, Temari replied. Kankuro remarked, I say the same thing. Baki's only visible feature turned red with 3 tomos as he said, you also care for your little brother. Touching, but Gaara will come with me. The Sand siblings rambled, the Sharingan, shit, before passing out. A few minutes later, Baki and Captain Yura led a rescue team out of Suna to find the Kazekage's kidnappers. Baki did the same to himself, exposing Itachi Uchiha carrying the unconscious form of Gaara, while Sasori dispelled the henge that was used on his puppets and himself to make them appear like Suna ninjas once they were sufficiently distant from Suna. Sasori gave Yura a look. You know the plan. You head to meet the Kazekage and both of you come back to Suna tomorrow with the story of a battle against a group of missing nins that kidnapped him. Meanwhile we will be extracting the Shukaku without worrying about a rescue mission for the Jinchuriki thanks to the state of emergency in Suna, explained the puppeteer. While Itachi and Sasori went to the cave where the statue for the extraction was located, Yura nodded and followed the Kazekage to the rendezvous point. Finished the flashback, they encountered 2 men wearing Akatsuki cloaks while traveling to the cave with the puppeteer and the Uchiha prodigy. One was a tall, blue-skinned man with gills and a huge, bandaged sword. He had a slash on his mist forehead protector, and anyone with a current bingo book would know him as Hoshikage Kisame. The other man, who appeared to be in his late 40s, had orange hair, a scar that ran diagonally across his father, a strange staff, and a slashed Konoha forehead protector. Itachi turned to the new arrivals. Before turning to face the other missing nin from Konoha, he said to his partner, "Oh, It's you, Kisame. The emotionless question was, you must be Kakuzu's new partner, Kaworu Yoshida. Why are you there? The leader ordered us to assist you. It looks like someone has been following you from Suna at great speed, Kisame replied. They found out the truth about our distraction plan. Who are them? Sasori responded. Yes, a voice said. The four Akatsukis turned to face the top of a dune, where the voice had come from. They identified the group of masked ninjas standing there as the Hand of Death, Konoha's new elite squad. Momochi Zabuza and Hoshikage Kisame exchanged glances. Kisame said, Zabuza, as he opened his samahata. Kisame. Zabuza replied, brandishing his sword. Kakashi surprised his partners by glaring at Suga with obvious hatred in his eyes and trembling with rage. He was always good at maintaining his composure. Sakumo, is that you? Kaworu inquired, glancing at Kakashi inquisitively. The copy nin replied, I'm his son, scum. Hitaki Kakashi, exposing his Sharingan eye. The other man teased, ooh, the pup wants to avenge his daddy? Minato, wasn't this man one of Sakumo's teammates, the ones he decided to save instead of completing the mission and later rejected him? Replied Kushina. Yes, he is. He defected Konoha when I became Hokage, fearing that I would use my new position to take revenge for Sakumo if Kakashi asked me. Minato replied. The ex-Kage turned to face the ninjas that were gone. Handle us the boy and surrender to us or prepare to be executed. Arashi replied. Itachi retorted, you are the only ones who will be executed.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.